You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers become the first franchise in history to win 6 Super Bowls.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Touchdown! Kansas City! Damian Williams!
Forward, diving to the goal line! A touchdown! And a title for the Patriots!
What do you think having a 37-year-old on to Cincinnati?
Ladies and gentlemen, Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday Season, Unhinged sports fans. Thank you guys so much for joining us this Sunday morning for NFL Unhinged Week 16, both on the Unhinged Sports Network and the video version on the Far End of the Bench YouTube channel. It's Week 16, which means we've played a lot of football. We're getting towards the end and postseason. I don't know if you guys saw over the weekend. If you're watching the Bulls, they have the Wild Card Weekend commercial going. I'm getting pumped up for postseason football. But let's bring in everybody here. We got Niko, my co-host on the Far End of the Bench, joining me. Niko, how you doing today?
I am doing as good as I can. I got some skiing in this morning, except I stayed true to my word. I'm wearing the Jets jersey. I as much as it sucks, I lost out on $200. I needed 2 more weeks for the Jets to lose out, and I would have had that in my pocket. But it is what it is. I'm excited to be back. Although I did have, if it wasn't for 2 of the biggest upsets in the NFL this year, I would have went undefeated this week. So I'll take what I can. If it weren't for the Bengals losing or Bengals pulling off the win and the Jets pulling off the win, I would have went undefeated. But it is what it is.
We got the underdog. I mean, you honored the bet on our show, and now you're honoring the bet on this show. So I give you kudos for that. We got the high-low sports guys, DJ and Kelcey. Kelcey, how was your Christmas? How are you doing today?
Man, it's I'm doing rough. Coming off that week last week. But you know what? Niko wearing the Jets jersey makes things a little bit better. Can't complain. So, we're almost there. We're almost at the end of the season. The Cowboys' misery is almost over.
Yeah, I don't think you got to worry about it a little bit longer because the NFC East, nobody will pull away with that division. But at some point, you're not going to have to worry about them playing on Sundays. DJ, you had a little bit of a down week, especially compared to your last few because you've been killing everybody. How are you feeling about today and where you stand in the pick'em for the show?
Could be better, could be worse. I mean, I yelled at the Bengals for all of 8 seconds last week, and they made me regret it by picking against them this week. So I don't know what to do with them. Last week I picked them, they let me down. This last week I picked them. Your Bengals are killing me, man.
Trust me, I know. I didn't even get to watch that game. We were recording our episode. I just had to keep going up with the score updates. I have no clue how they pulled that off, but I'll take it because it ruins the Steelers season coming down the stretch. Jim, you got back into the lead. You and Zach are now in a lead for the pick'em. How are you feeling today? How was your Christmas? And what are you feeling about where you stand so far this season?
I don't know. How do I feel? Thank you, Jets. Thank you, Jets. I think you're gonna make the Jaguars very happy here in 2 weeks. So that's how I feel. They lost and we won at the same time. And Brady made the playoffs today, so I'm doing pretty good.
Wow. It's a sad day for most fans on the network. I know that the Jacksonville fan base is super happy about that, but we had a big, like Niko said, there were 2 huge upsets over this last NFL weekend. My Bengals somehow pulled off a miracle beating the Steelers without Joe Burrow, and the Jets, I feel like the Rams probably just fell asleep. But let's talk about those 2 games because they are significant, especially at this point in the season. We'll start with the significant for a bad reason in the Jets. Because the Jaguars now and the Jets both have 1-15 records, but I think the Jaguars in the bad tiebreaker get the first overall pick at this point. Jim, what are you expecting with that? Because I know we talked a few weeks ago and you said that you're ready for the Jaguars to finish 1-15. Do you still think that's going to happen? They're still going to hold on to that top pick?
Yeah, Shad Khan made a call this week. He's saying Glennon's going to start for the remainder of the season, which means they're going trying to really, they know they have Trevor Lawrence there for the taking. And if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have a franchise future quarterback that's been put in the same conversations as a young Peyton Manning coming out of college. So do not pass up an opportunity to get a completely franchise changer that is Trevor Lawrence. And for the Jets, I have no idea why they decided to beat the Rams. They just set their franchise back another 3 or 4 years because Justin Fields, yes, is the number 2 quarterback right now coming out of the draft. You still have Lance, and you still have the homeboy from I want to say USC that's coming out that is now going up the charts to be the next quarterback. It's for the Jets. It couldn't happen to a greater city in New York. I just want to say thank you. And the Jaguars have ruled out James Robinson this Saturday. They've ruled out 3 defensive players this week. So Jaguars are literally going to tank. They have their number 1 pick, and we're just waiting for not this Sunday, following Sunday, so we can all start buying number 16 Trevor Lawrence jerseys. The vibe in this city after the Jets lost was like we won the Super Bowl here. It's really strange how the vibe was on Monday. We were celebrating a loss because we know we were going to get a expert quarterback in Lawrence. So Trevor Lawrence, you can opt out of your college football playoff. Don't get hurt, bro. Don't blow your knee. Kind of need you in Jacksonville.
It's crazy how one thing can change so many different ways. Niko, since you're in the Jets jersey, I'll ask you now, since it looks like they're going to get Fields, do you think that the Jets will they leverage Sam Darnold, do you think, and maybe trade back in the draft because they're not sure about Justin Fields, or do you think that they're going to move forward with that? And where do you think he could take the Jets? How do you feel about Justin Fields with the Jets compared to how you felt about Trevor Lawrence if he was going to go to New York?
Well, I saw a release today that said Zach Wilson, the quarterback out of BYU, is
Zach Wilson. That's what I meant.
Way up. That's probably the guy you're making.
BYU. Yeah.
Say Jim, but he could possibly be there. If I'm the Jets right now, the more I thought about this, the more I was like, or at the beginning, I was like, Trevor Lawrence, thank God he's not going to Jets. The Jets don't deserve him, blah, blah, blah. But then I look at the next option, and I'm sorry, Jim, to hate on your Jacksonville team, or your city down there, but Jacksonville is a much worse place. At least if he's in New York, he has the bright lights on him, and he is that star quarterback we've seen in a long time. At least if he's on the Jets, that he's in the big city, the expectations are on him. If he's stuffed in Jacksonville, I feel like it's going to be a no-name show all over again. Nobody's going to care. I mean, people like being in New York. There's the aura around New York Jets and New York football, including the Giants as well. There's this aura of, yes, we may suck, but it's still prime time, still one of the most organizations out there that is always at the top of the list for when it comes to revenue. For some weird reason, even if they suck, it doesn't matter. And that completely shot that down. Trevor Lawrence is, like we said, I've been saying every single week, he's a once in a generation type player. And now I mean, if everything works out how it is right now, stuffing him down in Jacksonville, that's not great on the league. The league almost wanted him to be in New York because you can revitalize an organization that has had some history, not recent, but history in the past. And being in New York with Trevor Lawrence, that's where the money's at. Having Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville is not where the money's at. I'm sorry, Jim. It's not where the money's at. Maybe I'll be completely wrong a few years from now, and Trevor Lawrence makes Jacksonville relevant, or makes Jacksonville Jaguars a relevant team, but it's just ridiculous. And now the Jets, what do you do? In my opinion, I was saying this on our show, Jamie, with Sam Darnold, is Sam Darnold deserves another shot. The dude has talent. He can be a quality quarterback. You just have to put the right people around him and the right coaching staff. And if I'm the Jets right now, I do not draft Justin Fields. I do not draft Zach Wilson either. I trade back out of the top 2, go maybe try to see a team who's trying to get a quarterback. Maybe the Falcons try to jump up and get Fields or whatever it may be, and you try to draft back and get more picks, because right now the Jets are terrible in so many spots. Yes, quarterback would help, but you have Sam Darnold. Give him another shot. Get better team around him. And first of all, fire Adam Gase too. That's the number one priority. Fire him first, and then you trade back and get more assets and let Sam Darnold run it back again. Because then, if you give him another shot with more weapons and maybe a better running back that's not 40 years old like Frank Gore, and you get him and you get weapons out him, Mims over there, maybe gets a second year and maybe another tight end or something. If you give Sam Darnold some more weapons, maybe he could compete against other teams. You just got to put the right system in, and that's just very unfortunate. Sam Darnold had to deal with Adam Gase. If you're a Jets fan, if you don't have Trevor Lawrence, if you're not the number 1 pick, you trade back.
I think I agree with you, and it works out too because Darnold's contract, he's only in his 4th year. So they don't have to pick up his option. And in the long run, it could work out still because they can get better draft capital if he does come out and prove that it was just Adam Gase. Kelcey, do you think, what do you think about the quarterback situation now? If Trevor Lawrence, I'm going to be honest, Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville sounds a lot to me right now like Deshaun Watson in Houston. It seems like he's going to go there. He's going to be as good as we think he is, but there's just not enough around him to possibly make a difference. What are you thinking with Trevor Lawrence going to Jacksonville now instead of where we thought in New York?
Okay, so if I'm Trevor Lawrence, I'm much happier going to Jacksonville. Just look at your weapons. DJ Shark, one of the top 5 receivers when he actually has somebody able to throw him the ball. You have Keelan Cole. You got guys there on the receiving core that you can actually throw to. You have James Robinson who, he's going to sit out the rest of the season for injury, which is the smartest thing the Jags could do. But the only problem is defense. You need a defense there to win games. But DJ might kill me for this. The AFC South isn't really outside of the Colts' top tier defense. That's that's really the big defense there, and they show weakness against the pass. So, it's one of those things like it could be worse. He could go to the Jets, but I do agree with Niko. I mean, if you're the Jets, this might be a godsend to you to lose out on Trevor Lawrence because you take that number 2 pick, you leverage that for somebody who's trying to reach for somebody else, and you turn that into a couple first-round picks, a second-round pick on top of that. You easily just get 3 positions to fill in, and even if they don't run it back with Sam Darnold, you still maybe get a quarterback in the free agency. Who knows? I mean, you can do something to stopgap, and there's chances there. With Derek King going back to college again, that opens up the possibility that maybe next year he's the guy they target. There's so many things that the Jets can do now. Trevor Lawrence is once in a lifetime, so it sucks for that purpose. But if you're the Jets and you need to rebuild a whole team, this could probably be the best thing to happen. Somehow Adam Gase worked a miracle, and it turned into a positive for once.
It could end up. Like I said, I think it could end up being really good for them. DJ, does it scare you at all to possibly have a generational talent in your division for the next 15 plus years? I mean, I'll talk to Niko about this too because he has to deal with Patrick Mahomes. But does that worry you at all with your Colts in the AFC South?
Bad for Trevor Lawrence having to go to the Jaguars. I don't know what you guys are talking about. The AFC South has a history of killing young promising quarterbacks. Andrew Luck, what they're doing to Deshaun Watson, what they did to Vince Young. Trevor Lawrence is next. They just got to make it full circle now with the Jaguars. So kind of feel bad for him going there in that regard. But I guess they do have some weapons. But no matter where he's going, considering he's considered this year's once in a generation quarterback, which we say every single year about the projected number 1 guy, he's going to go to a terrible team. He's going to have to uplift them with nothing around him. We'll see how he goes. If I'm the Jets, kind of sucks you miss out on him, but you'll be fine. You could bounce back. There's other quarterbacks in the draft. As long as you don't touch Justin Fields, he will fall apart if he goes there because they have nothing around him. Just get rid of Adam Gase and see where you go from there. You can leverage, like you guys said, Sam Darnold, get some picks. Because I don't think you could keep him at this point. I feel like his time there, I think he's talented. If you send him somewhere else, he could bounce back his career like Ryan Tannehill, for example. But I think if you keep him there, it's just beating a dead horse. I think his time in New York is done. So see what you can get for Sam Darnold, draft one of the other quarterbacks, see if you could trade back, get some picks. They're both completely rebuilding, so I don't think just Trevor Lawrence is, unless he really is Jesus and shoulder pads, I don't think he alone is going to rebuild either one of these teams in 1 year.
Jacksonville definitely has the talent over the Jets, but if you're Trevor Lawrence, would you rather live in the bright lights of New York City and have the world shine down on you, or would you rather be stuck in Jacksonville where you're the 3rd best team in the state?
I mean, look, the kid comes from Carrollton, Georgia, so we're not talking like a big
he's
area.
a Georgia boy.
He's a farm town Georgia boy. Carrollton's real small. They have a lot of land that makes up their school, but they don't have a lot of population there. It's about like an hour and a half north of Atlanta, so it's not a big place. If I'm him, I'm happy in Jacksonville.
And also, you're not going to be put in like high expectations in your first year in Jacksonville, unlike in New York.
Yeah,
New York, you'll be criticized. Why you didn't complete this first pass? Jesus Christ, it's my first pass. In Jacksonville, it'll be like 5 weeks later. It's like, why you haven't won the game yet? It's different in Jacksonville. It's going to be finally got our franchise quarterback. And I know I could tell DJ's a little salted because our only win this year for the Jaguars was against his Indianapolis Colts in week 1 with Minshew, who had a broken hand. But that's a rivalry down south. You know, the Colts in the AFC South play in Indianapolis in there in the South. I still don't get these division alignments, but I think if Lawrence does come to Jacksonville, I'm ready for the epic Deshaun versus Lawrence rivalry. That's going to be, that's literally going to be a Monday night game next year if that's possible. I almost can guarantee that.
And actually, it's ironic because Lawrence is the guy who replaced Deshaun at the same high school and again at Clemson. Yeah. It's just kind of that lineage thing for him.
Both quarterbacks are stuck with organizations that have been in the gutter, and hopefully they're trying to get out of it. So that would definitely be a good game.
This definitely feels very similar to when Peyton Manning was getting drafted by Indianapolis because, some people forget he was 3-13 that first season. He set the rookie interception record. But I agree with Jim in the sense that now if he goes to Jacksonville, he's able to kind of struggle and take his lumps in the first season and then come back. It's similar to what Burrow was this year, where we just kind of wanted to see what he was going to be and if he can play at this level and then take the first year and then move on and be better in the second year.
Also about Jets driving down, Niko brought up a good point about how they may go drop down in picks. Look for Carolina, the Patriots, the Lions to look for that number 2. Because from what I've been reading and hearing, Matthew Stafford's gone. He wants out of Detroit, and he wants out this year. So look for the Patriots and the Carolina Panthers to move up to get one of these quarterbacks.
Well, yeah, my dumbass predicted he'd go to the Titans, but the Titans are just fine with Tannehill. So, Stafford definitely is out in Detroit, though.
Yeah, once you said something about Tannehill, he decided to become one of the best quarterbacks in the last few weeks. He's been on another level. Before we move on, though, I do want to talk about the other upset this past weekend because it continues the theme of what we've been talking about the past few weeks. I'm wearing I got a new shirt that says no Steelers on it, so the Steelers suck. But coming down the stretch, is this losing streak more telling than what it might seem? Is this kind of showing that they were really inflated by their early easy schedule and they're just not ready to be in the playoffs? I'll go to DJ first. What does this say about the Steelers this past couple losing streak?
I think it says having their bye week in week 3 because the Titans can't control their damn COVID situation early on is kind of coming back to bite them because now you see everybody on the Steelers getting hurt. The war of attrition starting to kick in. And they learned that TikTok does not result in winning games, where the Bengals represented Vine for one Monday night for everybody. And I think
Von Bell, shout out Von Bell. He's the one who ended that Juju TikTok trend.
He should get sponsored by TikTok just for that. That'd be a fantastic twist of events. But I don't think it's too much to read into. They've already clinched the playoff spot too. When you're 11-0, it's hard to get up every single week too. When you've all but clinched your division, at this point they might feel some urgency at this point now that they have the Browns breathing down their neck. But I don't think it shows too much. We've all been talking about the whole time how they're not that great. They're not the best team in the league, but I don't think they're necessarily the worst 11-0 team ever at the same time. They're just really good, and I think injuries and attrition starting to kick in. And Big Ben being 800 years old and fatter than holy hell doesn't help either after 15 games.
No, they really, their offense does not look good. And it's the Browns honestly have a shot at this division still. They play in week 17. So if the Browns can take care of business this week in New York and the Steelers continue to falter, we might have a game in week 17 where it decides the AFC North. Where do we stand on that division? Because we have the Browns that are a playoff team. I believe that they're going to be a playoff team, but we all said last week that they're kind of not ready to be that next. They're not going to win the division anytime soon. And then the Steelers being inflated. I think the Ravens, you can kind of say last year were inflated. Where do we stand on the AFC North as a division? Kelcey, I'll go to you for this one.
Sorry, I just got a notification. Speaking of the Browns, Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, and Donovan Peoples-Jones all are the ones that are being ruled out for this week. So as far as what the Browns for going forward, it's so tough to tell with them. It all rides and dies by Baker's hand. If it's patient Baker who plays off the play action, really just trusts Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt to carry the load, it's fantastic. Trust Jarvis Landry. Trust your tight ends. You'll do just fine. It's when he decides he wants to be playmaker. I'm gonna stab the flag in the middle of a field. Baker Mayfield. That's when issues happen. And so I love the Browns. I like what they're building towards. And I don't know. Maybe this COVID thing is just a kind of hiccup in their step. I don't know if they can losing Jarvis if that'll have much of an impact, but. As long as they can take care of business against the Jets, I do think the Steelers, on the other hand, dude, this is a bad time. This tells me how good of a coach Mike Tomlin actually will be, or actually is. If he can pull them out of this rut against Indy this week, then maybe I take back everything I said about Mike Tomlin being a terrible coach. But this slide tells me exactly what I was afraid of, that this was being led by Big Ben, by Juju, by Claypool, and not at all by Mike Tomlin. This is not at all. And once he got involved, they just kept losing. So, yeah, I mean, look, this division, I think if the Browns could take care of business this week, I think the Browns can easily take this division. But it all depends on which Baker shows up at the end of the day.
Jim, I'll go to you because I want people to be able to see that beautiful Ryan Finley smile when he won the game. What do you think about this division? Do you think that the Browns are maybe ready to take that step and win it, or do you think that the Steelers are going to kind of right the ship and 3 bad losses to 3 teams that they shouldn't have? Well, not including the Bills, but 2 bad losses to the Washington football team, the Bengals. What does this do to the Pittsburgh team moving towards the postseason?
Well, they're in a rut right now, and this is a bad time to be in a rut because you're losing valuable playoff positioning. You want to host a home game, and if you lose this week with the Browns winning, the Browns technically will have I think they do have the tiebreaker over Pittsburgh, if I'm right. Therefore, they'll have the home game, and Pittsburgh will have to be on the road. And besides, come on, the classic meme that Mr. Finley did this weekend really, made us fans really realize how passionate we are for our football teams. And this moment where Steeler Nation is like, Jesus Christ, like, are you kidding me? And Ryan Finley's like, I'm not Joe Burrow, but I just beat that ass. So, yeah, for the Bengals Nation, hooday. Well, Pittsburgh couldn't do it, and Pittsburgh trend will continue. They're struggling. Juju's little dancing thing became a GIF, which is awesome. I think he's still in orbit right now. After getting hit. So it was entertaining for me as a despise of Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not holding that back. I just like how me and Niko predicted this about 4 weeks ago about how this trend was about to happen. And we knew once they lost to Washington, we knew there's something issues there. And
let's remind you, I picked Washington to win.
Okay,
so I called
Kelcey.
it a long time ago.
All right. Is the Allen behind you? No, shut up. So yeah. Hey, I'm proud of your Bengals, man. We didn't pick them, but they upset the Steelers, and when the Steelers lose, it's a good day for everyone.
I'm not gonna lie to you and said I expected this to happen. It was an early Christmas present. That's what it was, because like I said, it hinders the Steelers moving forward, and now maybe the Browns can steal the division. But it also
just hurts you in the draft, but that's about it.
Well, kind of, but I'm sure we'll still have a shot at a top offensive lineman. It also shows that Burrow mindset that I feel like he was trying to instill in these guys and change losing culture was actually taking hold, because they were able to win without him. I didn't think they'd come close to winning a game without him. They've been competitive in every game that they've played. Niko, what are your thoughts?
Well, with this whole Steelers thing, you gotta look at the last 2 games on the schedule. Right now, Steelers have to go play the Colts, and then you got to go into Cleveland. Those are 2 not guaranteed wins. If you look at the Browns schedule, the Browns play the Jets this weekend, which, barring some stupidity again happening this week, should be another win. And then they host the Steelers, so that's another added bonus that the Steelers have struggled on the road. They got their ass. They lost to the Bills and the Bengals on the road. And if you look at the rest of their road games on the schedule, they've all been close games. So I would expect the Browns to come out on top. But a team people are sleeping on. I said this a few weeks back when we talked about quarterbacks who have outproven themselves and that we weren't expecting a lot from, was the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have been on a roll. The Ravens are finally getting their shit together, quote unquote, and they look like a team that you don't want to see in the playoffs. If you look at their schedule, they play the Bengals again, which should be a win, but it's one of those things where if Pittsburgh falls out of the division win and it's Baltimore versus Pittsburgh, I'm taking Baltimore in that matchup. I think right now Baltimore has shown a lot more to me. Their young guys are getting their shit together. Patrick Queen over there on defensive end. J.K. Dobbins is finally getting into form like he was a few weeks back. It's one of the things where the Ravens are a most deadly team. Right now, in my opinion, the Steelers are the 3rd best team in this division. I would pick the Browns right now. Yeah, with Baker, who's been hot and cold like no other in this league. But the Steelers, it's Big Ben is the problem. Big Ben has been struggling a lot. It wasn't a problem at the beginning of the year because he had that early bye week and he was just throwing balls up to Claypool. But now defenses are just teeing off on him. They are saying to themselves, if we get to Big Ben, their offense is done for. And that's exactly what we've seen. It's the Pittsburgh defense is very good. Don't get me wrong, but they're only going to go as far as their offense is going. And if Juju can't dance all the way into the end zone and score, he can only dance on the logo in the middle of the field. Their offense is going to go nowhere. And they're going to be an early round exit in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the bad thing about Pittsburgh is that they've had injuries in really key places. Bud Dupree, since they lost Bud Dupree, really, that's when they started to kind of show all the weaknesses that they had. Devin Bush earlier on in the season, that's going to be even more deadly going down the stretch without a great middle linebacker that can cover the whole field. I do think that, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think the Browns are going to be able to take this division. I think the Steelers, being a Bengals fan and having to deal with the Steelers always finding a way to pull themselves together at the right times sucks, but I do think that that's going to happen still. But I agree with everybody else here that it's going to be an early playoff exit because they're going to find some team that's on a hot streak. Maybe Tennessee, if they don't win the AFC South, or maybe they play with the Browns a third time in the wild card matchup. I think that the Browns could come back and beat them. It's just I think it's an interesting division as a whole because I agree that the Ravens are looking good, but the Browns are really kind of asserting themselves to the rest of the league too. It's a great playoff race coming down to the wire. And
Ravens could technically, I'm not sure what the tiebreaker is, but they have 2 winnable games against the Giants and the Bengals. They have the easiest 2 games left out of those top 3. And if Pittsburgh loses 2 games, which could happen. And if the Browns get upset again this week, or if the Jets are able to make an upset again this week against the Browns, then the Ravens could sneak right in because they're only 2 games back. And if they win out, they're going to have a similar record to Pittsburgh and Cleveland if Pittsburgh falls off 2 in a row and Cleveland only loses 1.
Yeah, there's nothing but pressure up in the AFC North right now. If anybody loses, they risk falling 2 or 3 playoff spots, which is it's exciting football. We might as well. We'll go ahead and get into a quick break because we're running out of time on the Zoom meeting. We'll come back. We'll talk about the other tight playoff race, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about the quarterback situation in Philadelphia. You're listening to NFL Unhinged on the Unhinged Sports Network. Welcome back into NFL Unhinged. We just finished talking about the AFC North, the Steelers falling to the Bengals, another huge upset from Week 15. But now let's go to, I think, the other most exciting playoff race in the AFC. That's out in the South with the Colts and Titans. Both, I think, right now, both at 10-4, and they don't play each other again this season. They split the season series, but they each have basically got to win out to clinch their spot in the playoffs and clinch a home playoff game. So DJ, you're the Colts fan on the show. How do you feel? How confident are you in your team with Phillip Rivers at quarterback and that defense? How confident are you guys to finish out the season strong and possibly win your way into a home playoff game?
Felt a lot better about it till you reemphasized that Phillip Rivers was the quarterback. That made me a little bit more nervous there. But they basically have to win out because they have absolutely no tiebreakers over anybody. If they tie the Ravens, they lose out. They tie the Browns, they're out. I think technically even the Dolphins have a tiebreaker over them by a conference record or something along those lines. So basically they just have to win out to have a chance and hope that the Titans stumble against either Green Bay / Aaron Rodgers, Jay Cutler, whatever you want to call him. And then they have Deshaun Watson in Houston, their last game of the season. So maybe Deshaun pulls out some miracle stuff that he's accustomed to. But if you're the Colts, you got to find a way to win this week. You're down both tackles going against Pittsburgh, which I know Pittsburgh's been struggling, but they still have TJ Watt in the most sacks in the league. And you're down 2 offensive linemen with someone who is literally slower than a statue at quarterback. That could spell disaster if they're not careful. So Indy's basically got to win out to have a shot is how I look at it.
Niko, you said it on our show. You're a closeted Titans fan. You love busting with the boys. Will Compton. Hey, shout out Will Compton. He had a fumble recovery this weekend. What are you thinking with the Titans? Do you think that they've turned the corner and are in the same kind of postseason form we saw them last year in when they went on that huge run to the AFC Championship game?
This is just super intriguing in my opinion. So if you look at the schedules, the Titans have two tougher games than the Colts do. The Colts, yes, they play the struggling Steelers team, and the Colts play the Jaguars last game of the year. The Titans, however, have to go play Aaron Rodgers, and then they have to go play Deshaun Watson. Yes, the Texans aren't as good, but the Texans are still a formidable team, especially with Deshaun Watson. So it's going to be a tough one. If I'm looking at the playoff picture, if I'm looking at a team that's more likely to make some damage, it'd be the Titans, in my opinion, because like DJ said, it's Philip Rivers at quarterback. You don't know what you're going to get from him every single week. The Titans, in my opinion, have a better shot to make noise in the AFC. But right now, the Colts look like they're in the driver's seat to win the division. Like I said, the Steelers are on a losing streak. That's a very winnable game for the Colts. And then you play the Jaguars without James Robinson and Mike Glennon on the other side. So, in my opinion, I think the Colts can win this division. It's going to be tough for the Titans to stay in it. But if you look at the Dolphins are Dolphins play two tough games going forward. They have to play the Bills again later on. The Ravens are right there. They can make noise too. It's going to be very, very interesting. I'm not sure exactly how it all play out, but if I were still picking a division winner, it'll be the Colts because of their remaining schedule. The Titans, I would love to see the Titans over in the playoffs over the Colts because, like I said, I feel like the Titans, yes, they struggled against the Bills, but I feel like they can beat the Steelers. I feel like they can beat the Colts in a one-on-one matchup at the playoffs. I feel like they can beat the Bills. That's pushing it a little bit because the Bills are throw the ball out and just see what happens. But the Titans can control the game against these teams that like to air it out, especially. So I don't know. It's either way. I don't think. I think most of these AFC teams would rather see the Titans win the division because they're probably a lot more confident facing against the Colts in the first round of playoffs. But who knows what we'll see? Titans, like I said, their defense is slowly getting there. They're not where they were last year, but they're slowly getting to where they were. And there's very, very little people in this league that can slow down Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry, if he's rushing for over 100 yards per game, there's a good shot the Titans are going to win that game. Doesn't matter who you're playing. So it's an interesting one, that's for sure. I think the Dolphins fall out. The Raiders they're falling out too. They got no shot. I think it's going to come down to the Titans, the Colts, and the Ravens for the last few spots. It's going to be an interesting one, though.
Yeah, Kelcey, I'll go to you next with this AFC South division. Do you see more benefit in having the home playoff game, or do you think? Because honestly, I think the Titans were kind of propelled by being the underdog and being on the road and not being able to rely on the home game. Do you see possibly one of these teams benefiting from being a wild card and having to go on the road and try and win as the underdog?
I mean, yeah, the Titans of all teams, Mike Vrabel, he's loves to galvanize teams. He's the underdog at heart, you know. He coaches that way. And what better way to coach than, hey, we have no home games. You guys got to go out and win. You're going to have zero support. They're going to basically be yelling at you, swearing on you and your children, your family. You got to beat them to shut them up. Like, that's basically what he's going to tell his players, just like, you know, back in the last run they had. And it's the only chance he has. They're the only ones that benefit from that. Indy's home cooking is fantastic. I mean, that dome is, you know, something else. But then you think about it, and it's 2020 and COVID, and there's zero fans in the stands. So really, does it matter? Probably not. But if I'm giving an edge to anybody for playing on the road, it would probably be Mike Vrabel. This game in itself, like, you know, looking at down the road, how they're going to make the playoffs, dude, I don't even know which team is going to not mess up more, which team is going to have the coaching and galvanize. And, you know, both these games from the Titans are on the road. So if there's a way for them to sneak in, it's going to be these two games on the road, and they're going to have to hope Indy slips up with the Steelers. And that's pretty much their only hope, really.
Yeah, I think this division honestly has some of the most impact on how the rest of the playoffs are going to shake out, because if either of these teams start falling off and the Ravens can sneak into the wild card. Jim, since you kind of follow the Jaguars being out there in Jacksonville in the AFC South, what are you thinking about this playoff race coming down the stretch?
I don't trust Phillip Rivers. I don't trust Ryan Tannehill. One person I do trust is Derrick Henry.
And the Colts over the last couple of weeks, their defense has, showed that they can stop the run. But when these two teams play, it comes down to the running game. And Derrick Henry always has big games against the Colts. It's basically written in the scriptures of the Holy Bible is that thou shalt let Derrick Henry run for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's the Colts defense's game plan against Derrick Henry. And these two teams have been at the top of the AFC South for a couple seasons now with Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, almost 20 years. And now Phillip Rivers. And Tennessee's been up and down with Marcus Mariota, then now Ryan Tannehill, and a couple years back it was I want to say it was Steve McNair. Rest in peace, by the way. It's the AFC South cannot be determined without the Colts and the Texans. That's what it's the Colts and the Titans. Excuse me. The Texans have been up there lately over the course of the year, but I can't pick against Derrick Henry and seeing both these teams twice a year. For me, Tennessee, in my opinion, is the better team of the two, and it's because of Derrick Henry. That guy can just carry a team by himself, and last year wasn't a joke. Tennessee was literally a couple first downs away of taking control of the game against Patrick Mahomes, but they couldn't do it. And Tennessee's still there. Ryan Tannehill, even though I don't trust him, does make good, smart decisions. He is a typical game manager. And what Niko says, Phillip Rivers just likes to throw it to the other jersey more than he throws it to his own teammates. So I like the Titans in this, and I think the Titans, in my opinion, will outlast the Colts, will outlast them, and win the division. And even though they may not be playing now, I just see them possibly playing each other in the first round of the playoffs or the second round. And it's going to come down to that defense, and the Colts do not stop Henry at all. So, yeah, give me the Titans win this division, and it's that it. It's going to be short-lived because there's going to be a rise of a nation here pretty soon down here in Duval.
Can you make up your mind to whether you're a Pats fan or a Jags fan at this point?
I'm always be a Pats fan and the Jags fan, man.
You can only be one. Nope, you can only be one.
He's going to be a Jags fan going forward because Trevor Lawrence will be there because the Patriots suck now. So he'll be bandwagoning that for the next few years.
I mean, speaking of the Patriots,
it's the Patriot way.
We want to talk about teams with bad quarterback situations. Philadelphia has something brewing on their hands. Nice guy Carson Wentz came to Doug Peterson and said, I'm not a backup quarterback. I don't know what he's been watching, what film he's been watching. He's definitely a backup quarterback with the way he's been playing. But what does this situation mean now moving forward in Philadelphia? Because honestly, Jalen Hurts has led this team, willed this team to be better, to kind of achieve what we thought they could be at the beginning of the season. And they're doing it without a lot of help around him. I think that can't be understated. What does this do for Philadelphia now? Because you got the guy that used to be your quarterback, nobody ever really liked. He's complaining about being a backup, but you guys are winning with this new quarterback. What are we thinking here? Kelcey, what are we thinking in Philadelphia?
Send Carson my way. Send him to Dallas. That's A-okay with me. Look, I don't blame Carson Wentz in any way, shape, or form. He is a first-round draft pick. He built himself from a D1 AA prospect into a first-round draft pick. Yes, fantastic. Great on you. He needs to understand, though, that he has not had a great season because, honestly, this organization has not put him in a place to succeed. Yeah, they've had injuries, but let's talk about the receivers. Can you not go into free agency and get a better receiver than Fulgham? Like, really? Can you not go and see that Zach Ertz is falling off and maybe go trade Ertz? Bring in Dallas Goedert? Can you protect your guy in the offseason from getting punched in the face? Like, what are you guys doing in Philadelphia? We talk about the Jets organization and how they're in disarray. The Eagles organization is just as bad. And I don't blame Carson Wentz for saying, hey, I'm not a backup, because any good player is going to say, hey, I'm not a backup caliber player. That's just a fact of the matter. Anybody who wants to be great, they're going to say that. And that's just how it is. I don't blame him for it. But I do think, going forward, like, get Carson out of there, get him in a different situation. We'll see a different Carson Wentz because Doug Peterson, when Carson Wentz is in the game, coach is scared. When Jalen Hurts is in the game, it's a completely different play calling system. It's a lot of handoffs, it's a lot of play actions, a lot of naked bootlegs, things that you put your quarterback in a situation that he either has to get the ball out or he's going to get killed. With Carson, it was very much, you have the ball in your hand, you need to get rid of it quick. That's our play call. And that was that simple. And the whole goal was just to get it out of Carson's hand as quick as possible. So I think this is just a situation where all around it's terrible. I don't blame Carson for what he has to say, but if I'm the Eagles, I'm like, all right, bye. At this point in time, send him on his way. I don't have room for that. If I'm Doug Peterson, I'm going to be trying to build up a locker room. And so, but again, I don't blame Carson at all.
No, I think it was a poorly handled situation on all sides. And is it Howie Roseman? Is he the GM in Philadelphia?
Sounds about right.
He did a great job assembling that Super Bowl team, but it was basically just for that season, and they haven't been able to do it since. Where do we see Carson Wentz going now, though? Because his contract is big. Like all the money that the Eagles organization, basically most of that goes to Carson Wentz's contract at this point. Who's going to be willing to take a chance on a guy who's going to cost them that much money? And if he doesn't come in and assert yourself, maybe like say he goes out there and he does what Nick Foles did this year in Chicago, and you're eating that much more money. Who's going to take a risk on that? Niko, you have any ideas of who would take a risk on Carson Wentz now?
Well, first of all, Kelcey, if you guys are, Kelcey said the Cowboys as a destination. I'll happily send Carson Wentz to the Cowboys because that means you're giving up on Dak Prescott already. If Carson Wentz
they haven't already?
If they have
tell
already,
me the Dallas Cowboys haven't already given up on Dak Prescott.
If the Cowboys have already given up on Dak Prescott, I will happily take that man in orange and blue here in Denver. I will 100%. Happily take that every day of the week. It would be a shame to give up on that man way too early because he is one of the best stories Dallas has had. And if it wasn't for the first few games of the year, if Dak Prescott wasn't playing those first few games of the year for the Cowboys, they would have lost by 30 even more. There's the only reason why they were a part of those games. Some of those was because of Dak. They have a lot of other problems worse than Dak. If he goes to Dallas, I will happily see Dak Prescott in a different jersey because he deserves a lot better. Carson Wentz, though, it's Jalen Hurts' team 100%. I see Carson Wentz going to a team. Maybe I know Zach is going to probably roll in his seat, but maybe Chicago. Why not the Bears? Maybe the Bears bring him in to compete with Trubisky because the Bears are in a spot now where we're not that high up to draft with the quarterback. Why don't we bring in Carson Wentz and see what it's like him versus Mitch Trubisky for the starting spot? And in my opinion, I think Carson Wentz can win that position. Against Trubisky, and maybe that brings new life to the Bears. I think that's a decent spot that you could see him. Besides that, he's going to have to go to a place where he competes. There's not many spots. Maybe he goes to the Jets and he competes with Darnold. I don't know, but there's not many spots where in the league where you're like, this team needs a quarterback and they're not in a draft spot. The Jaguars need a quarterback, but like I said, they're in the number one spot right now. They're not going to bring in Carson Wentz and draft Trevor Lawrence. That's just not going to happen. Carson Wentz is going to go somewhere where he's going to have to compete for a job. In my opinion, I think Chicago is the best spot for that.
I mean, Chicago would be interesting because it'd be a battle of second overall picks that didn't quite pan out in Trubisky and Carson Wentz. That would be something.
And Carson Wentz, people forget that Super Bowl year, he was in MVP form. We've seen good things from him. He just needs the right system.
It's something weird. I feel like it's a similar situation to Shanahan and Garoppolo in San Francisco, where you just don't quite feel like the coach has complete faith in your quarterback, and when that happens, it doesn't produce a good product. Carson Wentz should be used in the way that Jalen Hurts has been used in this offense. I just don't understand what's going on there. Other quarterbacks that are looking to go places, we mentioned it earlier, Matthew Stafford. DJ, do you have any ideas as to where Matthew Stafford can end up? Because I mean, if I'm going to be honest, your Indianapolis Colts seem like a decent spot for him to be landing. Because who knows how committed they are to Phillip Rivers. What do you think?
Kind of took the words right out of my mouth. It's kind of a perfect fit if you have a good offensive line, which he has never had whatsoever. You have decent enough receivers. It's kind of a perfect fit. It's the exact opposite of the Lions, where you have everything but the quarterback. Where the Lions were, please Matthew, save us. You're our only hope. So I think him or even Carson, either one of those two, if they want to come to Indy, they could be good fits. They just both need a change of scenery, I think. I don't think they're not Patty Mahomes or anything along those lines. I don't think they have elite days ahead of them, but they have very quality starting quarterback days still to come. So they could both come along if they like. I think they both just need a change of scenery to a team that's not trash. Like, they can't go to the Jets or the Jaguars or anything like that, because for Carson Wentz, that's a lateral move. Same with Matt Stafford, and you're 6 in one and half a dozen the other. They need to go to pretty decent teams, I think, to finish out. In Stafford's case, finish his career. Carson Wentz to rebuild his. I would say the Saints would be good for both of them, but Sean Payton has a weird fetish for Taysom Hill and will not bring in anybody that could take his spot. So maybe not quite there, but something along those lines.
Jim, I'm going to go to you, and I saved you last for this reason. I'm going to give you the opportunity to see if either of these guys fix your quarterback situation, because Cam is not the solution. I think it's probably time that they go to Stidham or figure out something to do other than Cam Newton at quarterback, because that's not working out. So do either of these guys, do you see them possibly going to New England and fixing that position and maybe turning around this team from what they've done this season?
I think one of them does get there, but I put my bet with Matthew Stafford then over Carson Wentz. But for some odd reason, I really want to see that Carson Wentz to Chicago thing. That would be very intriguing because now you'll have 3 average quarterbacks competing for the starting job with Foles, Trubisky, and Carson Wentz.
That's a credit to both Foles and Trubisky being average.
Well, besides the miracle year that Foles did, I don't want to relive that year, but it's
they're much worse than average, is my point.
Yeah. But for Chicago, it just makes them how their organization's been over the last decade. They just don't find quarterbacks, and when they do draft somebody that thinks going to be their, the next guy, he just turns out to be miserable. And it's been. You can honestly say this, Kelcey, that their last great quarterback was Jay Cutler, as that's like a running theme on this damn show. But he's no Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I see the Patriots going after Matthew Stafford more than Carson Wentz because Matthew Stafford brings more to the table than Carson Wentz. He's mobile, he has a good arm, and he basically can help the young receivers in New England. He still has Edelman. He'll have Henry. He'll have Burkhead, and he'll have some decent tight ends. But the problem with the Patriots this year is that we have a quarterback that doesn't know how to throw a 5-yard out route. He throws it right at the back of offensive lineman head or just throws it right to a linebacker while he's dabbing like stupid idiot. Yeah, so thank God this is only a 1-year experience for fucking Cam Newton. So, yeah, Cam Newton, enjoy. I think your next destination might be the Montreal Alouettes or the BC Lions or the Calgary Stampeders. Go visit the boys in the Bleacher Connection up there in Calgary.
What about the Hamilton Tiger Cats? He'll follow in Johnny Manziel's
Hamilton.
footsteps.
Yeah, or Toronto. Go to Canada. You need to find how to throw a football forward again.
I think he would kill in Canadian football because Canadian football is fast paced, basically like it's almost like Air Force football. But I think that might not be a bad because I don't think he has good years left in the NFL. That might not be a bad career move for him and pull a Doug Flutie. Maybe he comes back at some point.
He's not that far removed from MVP season. He's not going to Canadian Football League. Someone's going to take a chance on him. Maybe even the Bears. Maybe that's the quarterback they take a chance on, or maybe it's the Jets and they bring him in to compete with Sam Darnold. I don't know.
Hey, let's not forget this man made a crap ton of money in his career, and he continues to make money from Under Armour as their NFL space. So I think he could walk away after this season and be just fine financially and not have to play football anymore.
It's going to be a decision where the Minnesota Vikings select him because that's the thing that Minnesota likes to do. Just draft quarterbacks that are 3 or 5 years from their prime thinking that they're going to be the next great thing.
Speaking of
Minnesota, anything's better than Kirk.
Speaking of Minnesota, let's talk about what happened yesterday as we're recording this Friday. Alvin Kamara scored 6 touchdowns. Should have got 7. Sean Payton's a dick. But he should retire those red and green cleats because that was absolute insanity what happened. If you were playing against Alvin Kamara this weekend in your fantasy championships, sorry for you because that was not going to go well. That dude went off. And that whole running back class, 2017 running back class is still, top. You got a lot of guys that are top around the league, but that was crazy. Like the Saints secure the division. They win the NFC South. But what were the factors that led up to that performance? I'll start with Jim. What did you see yesterday in that Saints Vikings game?
My fantasy football championship game blowing up in smithereens. I'm so far behind because of that dude. Yeah, that's how I think it.
How many points did you score?
From the league I was playing, he was at 46. I think it was just by himself. And he still has freaking Patrick Mahomes going Sunday. Yeah, it's not
You're
going to happen.
screwed.
I'm not. I need a miracle to win. But I just want to tell people, go look at the Alabama college running back core and look at all four. They have 5 running backs that were on the team together at one point, and they're all in the NFL besides TJ Yeldon. And for Kelcey, he's like, yeah, I know, I understand.
No, you're lumping Alvin Kamara in with a team he never actually even suited up for. He was completely banned from the practice facility. He couldn't even wear Alabama colors on campus because he was banned by Nick Saban. So he technically wasn't even on the team. He's more of a gray shirt, which doesn't count as a year of eligibility.
Well, that's if you're going to take that approach, I'll take that approach with Randy Moss with Florida State. He was on the campus, he never played. So okay, so we have one of the greatest receivers of all time at Florida State University.
But he's not an Alabama guy. That's all I'm saying. I can like Alvin Kamara because he's not Alabama.
But still, Alvin Kamara's performance. I forgot who he broke the record.
I think it was Clinton Portis.
Clinton Portis with 5.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what I saw yesterday.
Man, that's a throwback name right there. That's when freaking Washington was actually decent for once.
I'm pretty sure it was the season that Sean Taylor was still the safety in Washington.
Ouch. So that means Mark Brunell was the quarterback then.
Yeah.
Or Rex Grossman, one of them.
No, it was Brunell.
It was Brunell? Okay. Oh, poor Brunell. Anyways, yeah, besides getting my ass kicked so far in the championship weekend, and today didn't really help either for me. You got to give credit where credit's due. That the Saints, yeah, they have something. And for the Saints to go deep in the playoffs this year, they need him to go freaking off. And if he does this each week, they don't need to rely on Drew Brees' arm, what people are calling his but his spaghetti arm lately. So, but yeah, he got to give credit where credit's due. He did against an NFL team, 6 touchdowns, record breaking, and hats off of him. Yeah,
he tied the record, didn't break it.
No, he didn't break it tied. So still 6 touchdowns.
It was the most touchdowns scored since Clinton Portis back in 2003 in one game. But I think
and Clinton Portis was a part of the Broncos. He wasn't on the Redskins yet.
Well,
it was 2003. He was with the Denver Broncos, and there was 5 players that have all tied for 5 touchdowns in a single game by running back. It was Jim Brown, Ricky Waters, James Stewart, Cookie Gilchrist, and then Clinton Portis.
James Stewart's 5 touchdowns against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, I remember that game very well.
It was something to behold. Like, as a former offensive lineman, I absolutely loved it. But I think what was more intriguing about that game is how much that those two teams have turned each other into a rivalry. Since the Minneapolis Miracle and then the wild card matchup last year, these two teams hate each other. Gardner Johnson was going at people, Janoris Jenkins. Adam Thielen went at Janoris Jenkins, and I was sitting with my family on Christmas Day. Like, I wouldn't go after Janoris Jenkins. He had bodies buried underneath his house when he was living in Florida.
Also, Favre's last year in Minnesota, NFC Championship game.
It's like, those two teams. It was a fun environment to watch. But I mean, Kelcey, what did you see yesterday? What did you see from the Saints and Vikings game?
Yeah, I mean, that was a hell of a game. I mean, it didn't end in the Vikings way, but like just watching what Alvin Kamara was able to do. I mean, we hear stories about Gale Sayers, who was one of the other guys with 6 touchdowns in a game. By the way, he's tied now with Alvin Kamara, and you hear stories about Gale Sayers about how incredible he was, and Alvin Kamara put on a show. And the only thing I can liken it to is the stories we heard about Gale Sayers, because it's just so fascinating what he was able to do. He's stopping on a dime, doing things he hasn't been able to do since his rookie year, really, because of injury. And I don't know, man, that was incredible. And to your point about the rivalry, yeah, Janoris Jenkins threw a knee at Adam Thielen on that touchdown catch, and I thought Adam Thielen was about to break out his 40 over Janoris' head at that point in time. That was fascinating, man. I love it. I love the competition. But if you're Adam Thielen, you got to know who you're going after here, man.
You don't go after the Pounceys. You don't go after Janoris Jenkins. Those are the guys that you never want to. Basically, anybody who played at Florida with Tim Tebow, it was a preacher and a bunch of criminals. That's who played at Florida during that time. DJ, is that? Did you expect Actually, this is a better way to phrase this. Was this a bounce back game for the Saints to, they did lose out on the number 1 seed in the NFC, losing to the Chiefs last week. Was this a bounce back game for them?
A little bit, yeah. I think it was more just, hey, this is what happens when Drew Brees is a quarterback and you're not overutilizing Taysom Hill for no reason. When you look at their entire season, Alvin Kamara has been a top 2 back in the league all season when Drew Brees is under center. Those 3 games with Taysom Hill, they refused to give him the ball for whatever reason. So that's when he kind of fell off. But even with those 6 touchdowns, Alvin Kamara is now at 21 touchdowns on the season. So I think he's obviously not going to get MVP votes whatsoever. But he could be the reason the Saints could actually make that run this year, is if they continue to feature him. Then let Drew Brees play off of him. Let Mike Thomas hopefully not get injured or punch a teammate in the face again and come off of those as well. So they need to ride Alvin Kamara, then let Latavius Murray get his touches here and there. Just keep Taysom Hill on the bench. Let him play tight end. If they just Sean Payton's weird obsession with Taysom Hill, I think, is going to end up costing him if he doesn't figure it out. Because you saw it yesterday. Just let Alvin Kamara lead the team. He looked like the best running back in football last night, arguably. He cared Friday night, sorry. So I think Alvin Kamara's your guy. You just got to ride him. We kind of been talking, me and Kelcey been talking about him being a top 5 back all year. I think that just kind of established it right now, is you got to ride that hot hand. Let him carry you through the playoffs and let your defense, even though they gave up 30-something points to Kirk Cousins, they can let Alvin Kamara and the defense carry you. Let Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and the Broncos, the way he won that Super Bowl, let him just kind of coast through on that.
Yeah, that the Sean Payton Taysom Hill thing is very Fight Club-esque. It's almost like Sean Payton sees Taysom Hill as his cooler self. Niko, where do you see this pushing these 2 teams? Because now the Vikings pretty much fall out of the playoff picture. It would take a miracle. They need a lot of help. And Kirk Cousins still hasn't really produced what he was kind of promised to be in Minnesota. So where do you think this sends these 2 teams in Minnesota and New Orleans?
Well, Minnesota, in essence, they I think they need to fully rebuild. I think they need to get rid of Kirk Cousins. They need to keep one person on that team, and that person is Dalvin Cook. Or excuse me, I'll take that back. I'll say 2 or 3 people. You keep Justin Jefferson, you keep Dalvin Cook, and then you maybe keep Thielen. Besides that, you blow it up. This team needs to go young. They've been right around that cusp of a wild card team for so long. They can never get over the top of their division. It's one of those things where the Vikings need something different. They need to do better. However, when you look at the Saints, Drew Brees, looks like he's back into form. He's back into form. He needed those weeks off, but people are sleeping about one thing that happened about the Saints that is going to hurt them badly. Quan Alexander torn Achilles, out for the year. That's going to hurt their defense big time, in my opinion. Absolutely massive. He was a huge pickup during the regular season. They stole him from San Francisco. That's going to hurt that defense immensely, especially in the middle when you have to face teams with good running games. The Saints, in my opinion, they're only going to go as far as Kamara and Drew Brees take them. Their defense is going to struggle now, I believe, with Quan Alexander out for the rest of the year. So it's going to be one of those things where, can the Saints control the game in the playoffs? And Drew Brees has been shown to do that. I think, Jimmy, you were talking about this earlier on in the season, how Drew Brees is overrated and he's washed. Well, if you look at it, the Saints need him. The last 2 games, the Saints have played actually excellent football. They almost stole one against the Chiefs, and then they had that game this week where they murdered it. And man, Drew Brees is still the man there. He still looks like he has at least 2 years, next year possibly as well, of good football left in him. It's one of those things where the defense is going to be depleted though, big time, without Quan Alexander in the middle now. So the Saints are on upset watch, in my opinion, in the playoffs.
Yeah, I turned the game on after Quan Alexander got hurt, so I wasn't aware that he tore his Achilles. That's going to be terrible for them, because honestly, I think Quan Alexander is the best weak side linebacker in football in terms of pass coverage and being able to chase plays down from the backside, which is what you need against a lot of these teams who have these running backs that like to run outside zone and stretch the defense. So that's terrible for them.
That running back class as well, the first running back taken was Leonard Fournette, and he's basically out of the league. That's crazy to think about. As good as that running back class was, and Leonard Fournette was the first one.
Yeah, shout out Austin Eckler, because he's also a part of that class. He was undrafted, but he's killing it out in Los Angeles. A former teammate of mine at Western Colorado. But as far as Drew Brees, I'll give him this. He's game managed himself. Like when he's played, he hasn't been great like he used to be, but he's still putting up decent numbers. I say he's washed in the same way that Peyton Manning was washed in 2015, where he's not going to win you a game. He's going to keep you close. And if you have a defense good enough to to handle it, then that'll be fine for them. But I do think I don't see 2 more seasons. I see maybe 1 more if they don't make it this year. But honestly, Drew Brees is looking for this to be his Ray Lewis season. He's looking to go out on his shield this year with another Super Bowl. That's all he wants. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it now without Quan Alexander. I didn't realize that he was done for the year. That's really too bad for them.
Yeah, torn Achilles, that mess you up, especially in football. You see how bad it happens in basketball. Basketball players are out for the full 82 games. That could affect next year for Quan Alexander. Knock on wood. Hopefully he gets back though for next year.
Yeah, that's something. I think that's like a 16-month recovery. So it's over a year long recovery, no matter what. Speaking of guys that are recovering quickly, Joe Burrow, there's a video released this weekend of him walking 3 weeks after his ACL surgery. I got to give him a shout out because he's my future of that franchise. But that was good stuff. Good discussion of the past week in the league. We'll take a quick break here because we're running out of time on the Zoom. But when we come back, we'll start getting into the nitty gritty, the pick'em that we talked about. I'll tell you where everybody's lined up in the rankings wise, and then we'll get into the games and pick week 16 in the NFL. You're listening to NFL Unhinged on the Unhinged Sports Network.
What's up, benchwarmers of the Unhinged Sports Network? We got another thing to get to because, nobody likes dealing with cable companies in 2020. And here at the Unhinged Sports Network, we wanted to cater to you guys to go into the new age, cut your cable cords with Fubo TV. We have a new link, a new partnership. You can go to the link in our bio, and if you sign up for a subscription through that link, you will kick back a little bit of money to the Unhinged Sports Network so we can continue to bring great content all across this platform. And we got big things coming up in 2021, so you're going to have to get in on this, and we're helping you out in the process.
Yeah, make your life easier, man. No one likes dealing with cable companies. You don't get half the channels. Sometimes there's blackouts. That's not present with Fubo. You can get whatever you want. I can watch Sunday Night Football with no sweat. I can watch I can watch basketball on TNT anytime I want. Be sure to use Fubo, man. I'm definitely going to be using it. I hate paying for cable, so I'm going to be using that right now as we speak, if we're being honest. And I want to make sure to get on that deal, so now it's your turn to do the same.
Help out the Unhinged Sports Network. Cut your cable cord. Come into the digital age. Thanks, guys.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. NFL Unhinged, and we're about to get to the part I know everybody loves because we talk about this all week. We run each other. We run our mouths against each other, try and beat each other. Niko got the best record of the week last week. I believe he finished 11-2.
Should have went 13-0 if weren't for the fucking Jets and Bengals.
Well, I'm not too upset that the Bengals ruined that on you, but that was a hell of a performance last week. So you had the best record of last week, but we'll go just top to bottom, 1 through 5 here. Zach Kyleman of the Gridiron Gallery podcast, not joining us this week, obviously, spending some time with the family for the holiday, but he is currently tied for first place. He went 10-3 last week and is 47-19 overall with a 71% winning percentage. So Zach is tied with the commish himself, Jim Munier JDash of the JDash show. Jim also had a 10-3 week last week, and currently 57-23 overall for a 71% winning percentage. So how does it feel being on top, Jim? You're back where I know you think you belong.
Well, first off, we all did pretty well this week, and you have to give credit where credit's due. Niko did outperform everybody after this, awesome, arrival to the collapse in the second week. He bounced back, so yeah. But it's still, we have a couple weeks left in the postseason. Sometimes it's nice to be on top, but still a long way to go.
I'm very impressed with everybody because everybody's quite a few games over 500. Nobody's just scraping by and nobody's below 500. Jim, do you think you're going to be able to catch Zach? Do you think you have him? I have his pick. So you haven't seen who he's picked yet, but do you think you're going to be able to catch him?
Yes.
All right. Moving on, DJ, he had a really dominant couple of weeks after struggling out of the gate. Currently, he went 9-4 in week 15, and it makes him 49-21 overall, sitting at third with a 70% winning percentage. DJ, you're going to bounce back? You're going to return to your old ways? Because you went 11-2 the week before, so you're going to get back on your high horse here?
So this is what it feels like to be a Patriots fan. When you double your wins to losses, you're considered struggling. So this feels right. I can get used to this, but we'll go ahead and see if we can go 9-0, 10-0. However many picks we're going, don't matter.
Next on the list, we have my co-host Niko of the Far End of the Bench podcast. 11-2, like we said, best week overall, and then in his overall record, 47-23 for a 67% winning percentage. So overall, you're hanging in there. You're clawing, keeping it close. But your weekly records have been getting really good. So how do you feel about moving forward in the pick'em on the show, Nick?
I basically need an undefeated season or an undefeated week again. I almost had this week, but I needed to catch Jim or Zach. So I got to keep hot. If I fall apart, I'm definitely out of the race. So I've had two. I had a really good week to start, and then I had a really good week last week, and then in between was absolute shithole. So hopefully I can get back into the top two with my performances this week and next week.
Yeah, all it takes is a couple big days. Kelcey knows that firsthand. You're fifth in the standings right now, but it's a lot closer than it was at the beginning when you were when Kelcey's Island was first founded. And it's not like you had a terrible week. You went 8-5 week 15. You're 54-29 overall. You and Jim, I think, have the most picks out of anybody else because you guys have been on every single show. But you're sitting at a 65% winning percentage. So you and Niko basically have to win out no matter what. So how are you feeling moving forward?
God, it's perfect that I'm a Cowboys fan and I'm 8-5. It's just, it hits the nose right on the head. Look, I mean, hey, look, I took some flyer picks. It happens. I got to try to take some games out of everybody else, and it's gonna bite me in the butt some weeks. Other weeks, I'll lead the pick'em. So we'll see. Sometimes I look like a genius picking the Washington team to beat Pittsburgh, and nobody else did. And sometimes I look like a goat trying to pick against the Chiefs. It's just, we'll see.
I think that it's very competitive. It's kind of it's similar to some of the playoff races we have going on throughout the league. But I wanted to talk about this because we hadn't brought it up yet. But I was thinking we got to come up with what the winner of the pick'em gets, like a prize. And then I wanted to bring this up too. Should the guy who finishes in last, should there be some sort of punishment, some embarrassing thing that you got to post on social media? So first off, we got to figure out what the winner should get. And if anybody has any ideas, feel free to shout them out.
Nothing will be my podcast of the year belt. That's on my mantle. So it doesn't matter what the award is. I don't care if I win. I got the biggest one of them all.
Anybody else? Anybody have an idea for a prize for the NFL UnHinged pick'em?
Here you go. Winner gets their own segment going into next season. So they get like a 5-minute spiel either at the end or the beginning to say whatever they want about whatever team they want.
I don't mind that. I think that could be good. Jim, you got any ideas?
Actually, no, I don't. Not at the top of my head. I was going to say put the title on the line, but no, you can't. I like Kelcey's thing, but we could also say they can actually have a segment called Kelcey's Island no matter who wins. It could be Jim on Kelcey's Island. It could be DJ on Kelcey's Island. And Kelcey be like, well, I did make the island, but I didn't win the island.
It is what it is. It's like Madagascar. Everybody knows it's out there, but nobody really cares enough to visit.
So getting the segment named after you, is that the prize? So whoever wins
is their island. We'll do
whoa. Hold on now, guys.
You're in last place. You don't deserve Kelcey's
I built
Island.
this from the ground up. And it was solidified with my Washington fan.
With your last place record, I don't think you deserve it. So we'll get it to the top guy, whoever his island it is.
Well, what if the island is like, I mean, I don't mean to do this to you, Kelcey, but what if the island is what the guy who finishes in last, that's what we name it after? Because then it's almost
perfect.
Okay, there. The island will be what the person in last place gets. DJ, help us out. What should the winner of the NFL UnHinged pick'em get? Because you have a possibility of it being you.
I think we're being way too polite about this. We need to start treating this like a league where the winner gets to choose a tattoo for last place, and they have to choose where they get it.
Kelcey knows he's getting last place, so that's why.
It's because I take flyer picks. I'm the only one that has the balls to take the flyer picks.
Excuse you, sir. I have like 17 islands.
Some people like winning. I like winning. So
I got something for you guys. How about the winner will get to pick what? I'll do the punishment first since I'm the only one who doesn't pick, so I don't have any stake on the line. It doesn't screw me over with where I'm at. So I'll be the first one to do whatever the winner gets to choose. But the winner, I like that. The winner will get to choose what the loser has to do, and I'll play the loser for the first one. That way it doesn't screw over anybody else. How about that?
Oh, if I lose, I'll take my punishment. I'll take it right on the nose.
I'll
That's
also
fine.
Hey, I'm known to take my punishments. Look what I'm wearing.
Yeah, Jimmy and I will take this punishment. If I lose, I'll happily step up and take my punishment.
I feel like that's fair because I don't have any stake. I don't get to put my picks in the pick'em, so I couldn't have fucked myself over in the pick'em yet. I'll
Just
go
no
ahead.
tattoos, guys. Look at this beautiful alabaster skin right here. Like you can't ruin
Wait,
this.
so we're saying that whoever finishes fifth place or dead last in the pick'em?
We're not doing the tattoo thing. We're not going to go that far, but we'll figure it. Whoever the winner is gets to pick the punishment for last place.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
and
it most likely will be Kelcey, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Jim, I hope to
Yeah.
God you pick 2 and 14 this week. Oh my God.
Because I have 3 ideas that will be perfect for Kelcey.
Oh, let's hear 'em.
One's in dark blue, one's in burgundy and gold, and the other one's in green and white.
Oh boy. Okay, so there you have it. That's what's on the line for the pick'em. So not only bragging rights, but the winner will get to choose what the loser and myself have to do at the end of the season when the pick'em is over for the last episode of NFL UnHinged this season. But without further ado, let's go ahead, get into week 16, the games. We're going to do the same thing that we did last week. So any games taking place on Saturday or before, not counted in this week's pick'em. And like I said, I have Zach's picks. He sent them in to me earlier. So we'll start. First game I wanted to talk about is the Colts and Steelers. We've kind of talked about it already so far this episode. But it's a very intriguing matchup with what the Steelers have done the last few weeks. The Colts fighting for that spot in the playoffs. I'm interested to see how this one goes. I'll give you guys Zach's pick first for this game. And he picked, if I can figure out which, he went with the Colts. Zach has the Colts beating the Steelers for the first game of the Week 16 pick'em. Nico, how do you feel about this one?
And this is a toss up for me, in my opinion, because the Colts have been my nemesis. I finally picked them right last week after me picking against them every week. And then there's a Steelers who are due a win. They're on a losing streak, and they're falling apart, but they still, there was a reason why they went 13-0. So I don't know here. Oh man, let me eeny meeny miny Steelers. I'll pick the Steelers. I'm picking the Steelers. Get back on track. There you go.
Boy, you got a lot of more.
I hate both quarterbacks here, anyways. So I'll pick the Steelers with the upset.
There you go. DJ, I'll go to you next. It's your team, Colts and Steelers. Do you think that this is a get-right game for Pittsburgh? Do you think that the Colts will show up and keep pace in the AFC South?
So heading into this week after your Bengals took out the Steelers, like, oh, Colts are winning this game. I felt really good about it. But then as the week drug along and everyone on the Colts started getting hurt, their injury report's longer than the Holy Bible itself. And then they end up going into the week with 2 tackles completely ruled out against TJ Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick just waiting for Philip Rivers to throw a duck. Got a little bit more nervous, but I'm still going to stick with the Colts because I think the way they do it is there's no Devin Bush, there's no Bud Dupree, there's a weakness at linebacker for the Steelers. Phil Rivers catches the ball and he flicks it 3 yards to Naeem Hines or the running backs or the tight ends. Just pick on the linebackers, don't risk anything. And Big Ben's, he's known for trying to fit a ball in spaces that it doesn't belong. So he'll fit a few of those for the Colts, and I think they could capitalize on it. Your Bengals probably should have had 17 picks last week, hoping the Colts could catch 1/18 of those and finish with 14. So I'm going to say the Colts take it an ugly one. The Steelers continue to melt down a little bit, and it sets up the game with the Browns being for the division, which I think everybody in football kind of wants to have a winner-take-all sort of situation.
I would love that. I love it when the AFC North comes down to the last game of the season. It was fun when the Bengals beat the Ravens to put Buffalo into the playoffs a few years ago. I would love that. Kelcey, I'm going to you next, and I'll just throw this out there. Juju came out and said he's no longer going to do his dance on the logos because it takes away from what the team and all of his teammates want to do. I really just think that Von Bell knocked the boogie out of him. I don't know if he can dance anymore after taking a hit like that. What do you think about this game with Pittsburgh and Indianapolis?
Look, whether Juju has the rhythm or not anymore, he still dance anywhere. Just probably won't be on a logo at this point in time. I think he finally got it through his head, unlike AB. Like, you don't do things to disrespect the team. Don't give them bulletin board material, please. Which sucks because I really wish he would have done it this week because I would have loved to see Darius Leonard just crack him one time over the middle. That would have been everything I could have loved to see. But I made the mistake last week. I picked the Steelers and they lost, and that was my first time picking the Steelers to actually win a game. And so I'm gonna go back to my plan of action beforehand. Jimmy, if you would just show your shirt real fast, the just say no to the Steelers, because I got to go Colts on this one. I can't pick the Steelers for the right mind.
Just say no. I mean, I had a few. There's we all the different fan bases have famous fans. Barrelman out in Denver. The Bengals have the Bengalorian. It's a orange and black Mandalorian suit that he made, and they also have Bengal Jim. I got shout outs from both of them on my Twitter yesterday for this shirt. So I like the disdain for the Steelers so far. Niko, I'm not happy that you picked my nemesis, but Jim, you're the last one for this.
I gotta get back in this race somehow.
I get that, but it would be good. It would be good for us to have to do the punishment together, right? That could be something.
No, I don't really want to do the punishment. Kelcey still has that wrapped up.
All right, Jim, you're the last one for this game. Colts Steelers. Who are you going with?
Well, Drew Carey will be singing Cleveland Rocks in 2 weeks, so I'm going to say the Colts outlast the Steelers in this one. The Steelers look tired to me. They've been each week now. Their bye week was week 3, I think it was. I think Niko mentioned. Yeah, the Colts, in my opinion, they have more to play for right now, and the Steelers are reeling. And we're starting to see their defense got exposed against Washington a couple weeks ago, and this is the better quarterback they've played. Well, take it back, Josh Allen. They played them recently, so yep. Cleveland Rocks is my pick. Give me the Colts on this one.
I think it's fair to say that, but I will say that it's in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has had a weird way of winning pretty ugly games at home this season. I think that's it. Honestly, I could see the Steelers winning this game and then proving why they're probably going to exit in the first or second round of the playoffs when they don't get the home game that they thought they were going to, having the number 1 seed. Niko, that puts you on the island for the first time this week. You're the only one going with the Steelers. Everybody else goes Colts. Next game, Rams and Seahawks, pivotal matchup in the NFC West, the division that we talked about being the best in football at the beginning of when we first started doing this show. It's kind of backed off a little bit. Arizona and Seattle struggled. Some Los Angeles moved up, but then they just got beat by the Jets. So I have no idea where to fall on this division anymore. And this game is kind of a toss-up to me at this point too. I'd like to go with Russell Wilson, but maybe Seattle's better without Russell Wilson having that big of a role. Maybe they should just turn around and hand it off to Chris Carson. But Jim, I'll go back to you. What do you think about this one?
This is the game that, in my opinion, Jared Goff needs to make the next step. He's been that quarterback that gets to that point where he's going to make the next step, but he then falls back. We thought he was going to make that next step a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl and just completely felt like a quarterback who never even played it down in the NFL. He was behind on his passes. He was late on his reads. And you're going up against a Seattle team that's been pretty much the top of the division or inside the division with the Rams all year. This, in my opinion, we do know this. Whoever wins this game wins the division. That's basically whoever wins this wraps it up, even if it's next week or this week. For me, the Rams, that defense, home, I forgot his name, boy from Pittsburgh University. Niko loves him.
Aaron Donald. How the hell do you not know Aaron Donald's name?
I was thinking of freaking Fowler Jr. and Ramsey.
That is a disgrace to Aaron Donald.
Traitor.
You can't remember his name. Wow.
Well, I don't like any team from LA. Okay, I despise that city.
Best player in football. Put some respect on him.
Jesus.
So for me, it comes down to the quarterback play. Russell Wilson's Russell Wilson, but he's shown signs over the last couple of weeks of making dumb, boneheaded decisions. But for some odd reason, I can't pick Seattle. There's something about me just doesn't want to pick Seattle. So I like the Rams in this one. I think Jared Goff does kind of, shut me up this week and prove me wrong. So I like the upset. Let's have someone else there. Give me the Rams.
All right. Jim's going Rams. Kelcey, I'll go to you next. Rams, Seahawks, what are you feeling in this game? Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, or Sean McVay, Jared Goff?
I've been proven wrong so many times about the Rams week in and week out. I thought they were going to be 3rd, 4th in the division going into this season, and they have continued to prove me wrong. Jared Goff has continued to just excel, and that running game made up of a bunch of no names, and they just continue to put out 100-yard rushers. With all that said, give me the Seahawks. I can't pick against DK and Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson, and Jamal Adams might finally get his freaking pick on the season. But we'll see. I think the Seahawks just at home, whether or not there's the 12th man in the stands or not, that stadium's a pain to play in if for anybody else. Seattle has a market on that, so give me Seattle on this one.
Yeah, Seattle's also not that easy of a place to play late in the year because it does get cold up in the Pacific Northwest, and that does still hold some weight.
Cold and gusty.
If you have a team that's from a dome like Indianapolis or not Indianapolis, but like New Orleans having to go outside to Seattle, I don't really like that matchup. Niko, Jamal Adams is going to be in the playoffs for the first time in his career. He was pretty pumped up about it. Honestly, one of the better safeties in the league for the first time seeing him in the playoffs. I'm excited to do that. But Rams and Seahawks, where do you fall on this game and how it's going to shake?
Yeah, thank God he got out of this horrific green. God damn, this is ugly. But this matchup, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a very close game. I'm not picking the Rams based upon what they did last week because I'm just so fucking pissed off that they did that to me and lost to the Jets. And I'm going to pick the Seahawks for the reason of I had the Seahawks before the season started. I picked the Seahawks in the Super Bowl beginning of the year, and they I'm still sticking with that. I think the Seahawks are a much deadlier team coming playoffs because of Russell Wilson. Yeah, he's had his ups and downs, but when it comes to the prime time and under the big lights, there's very few quarterbacks in this league I want more than Russell Wilson. There are some, but very very few that I want more than Russell Wilson. So for that reason, I'm picking Seahawks. Seahawks are gearing up for the playoffs. Maybe this is a game where the Seahawks already have the playoffs in the bag, so maybe they rest their players. I don't know, but either way, I'm picking the Seahawks here. The Rams just pissed me off way too much. And it's disrespectful to not even name Aaron Donald and just say he's the dude from Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh, Jim. That's just tough, man. Not Aaron Donald is a top 2 player in this league, 100%.
I think he's the best player in the league. I think he's been the best player in the league for a while because it's what he does to professional athletes is absolutely insane. DJ, you're the last one on this game. Can you convince me that it's kind of split so far? Can you convince me either way? Who are you going with in this game?
Well, Niko kind of stole my list and everything I was going to say with the Seahawks, considering I also had them in the Super Bowl before the season, and I had them basically running through the NFC West comfortably. One thing with the Seahawks, too, is they've actually started to play defense the last few weeks, too. They're not giving up 400 yards a game. They're starting to not stop people, but not let them walk all over the place. You mentioned Chris Carson. They're starting to actually get running backs on the roster from the injury reserve. So they're starting to balance out a little bit instead of Russell Wilson hucking and chucking it everywhere. So I think that balances out their offense, which is better for Russ. As good as he is, when he's asked to basically spread it out and throw darts is when he starts to struggle a little bit, especially with that terrible offensive line. So I'm going to say the Seahawks take it. They clinch the division. And I think we finally see Tyler Lockett again since he's been upset. Russell's been a little bit obsessed with DK the last 4 weeks. Rightfully so. DK makes absolutely no sense due to human genetics and physics. But I think we finally see a Tyler Lockett sighting because Jalen Ramsey's going to frustrate DK a bit. So I'll take the Seahawks to clinch the division, take over the Rams, and that dude from Pittsburgh will only have 1 sack instead of 17.
That's a bold statement with that offensive line in Seattle. Zach Kyleman of the Gridiron Gallery podcast, he's going with the Rams. So that makes Jim and Zach the two people tied for first, going with the Rams. Everybody else is going Seahawks. Next game is
this is how we make up our ground, boys.
Exactly.
It's a big matchup next game. Titans-Packers. Titans basically got to win out to keep control of the AFC South because they do have the tiebreaker over the Colts so far. And the Packers, if they can win out themselves, they could clinch the number 1 seed in the NFC, which would be huge for them having the bye week. And then Lambeau in the playoffs is just another level in how much of an advantage that is. But what are we thinking in this matchup? I'm going to go to Niko first because he's wearing the busting with the boys hat. So let's go. Are you going with the Titans, or are you going to stick with the bad man, Aaron Rodgers?
Man, my heart is torn. It is my favorite quarterback to watch in the league versus my favorite running back to watch. It's going to be a good game in my opinion. I think this is going to be one of the best games of the year. I think the Titans are going to be. It's going to be heavily run dominant, but at the end of the game, I think it's going to be Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers way too much. In Lambeau it's a different feeling when you're when it's December 27th, as you guys are listening to this. It's a cold and frigid days, especially at night in Lambeau. And for that reason, I'm going with the Packers. that cold weather favors the Titans though, considering they're very, very run heavy. But I think the Packers offense is going to put up more points. They're going to put up points every time they score. The Titans, I do like the Titans a lot in the playoffs, but the Packers just have that bad man over there. So I'm going to Packers.
I think some of the injuries are going to be key in this game too, because Taylor Lewan being out on the offensive line for the Titans is bad. Jayon Brown not being in. I love Will Compton, but there is not a big difference. But there's
step off, yeah.
So it's an interesting with the Titans and their injuries, but I love the way Mike Vrabel coaches. I would love to have played for a guy like him. Jim, I'll go to you next. Titans and Packers. I'm not sold on the Packers. I'll be honest with you, not 100%. But what do you feel about this game, this matchup?
It's going to be a battle between a running attack and Derrick Henry, not Michael, what the fuck I'm talking about, and that quarterback over there in Green Bay, Jay Cutler. So I like the Packers here because it's in Lambeau and the temperature, you don't know. One minute could be 30 degrees, the next minute it could be -5 and snowing. But usually in cold weather games, running games are the dominant factor, and the passing's not on point. The ball gets heavy in cold weather games. Sometimes you need to get the ball a little deflated. Sometimes, depending on what team you are, or you get overinflated, depending on Jay Cutler likes his football overinflated or not. But yes, people, I know it's Aaron Rodgers, but I'm just stabbing Kelcey here with a Jay Cutler comment from 3 weeks ago. So give me Jay Cutler of the Green Bay Packers over the Tennessee Titans, because I hate the Titans and I think the Colts are going to win the division. So, yeah, give me the Packers. But I expect Aaron Rodgers to have a big game. I think this would be a defining moment. Watch the Packers win, clinch the number 1 overall seed, and be groovy. It's going to be tough going to in the Lambeau in the wintertime. That's all it is.
30 minutes later, Jim's already going back on his Titans pick to win the division. Now he's going back to the Colts.
Yep. I hate this division. I hate all of them, so they can both
switching
lose.
picks 30 minutes later.
Yep. I'll go ahead. Zach picked the Packers in this game, and since he does like to throw out random stats, I'll give you guys this one. Devontae Adams has not dropped a pass that's been catchable all season. He has 0 drops on the year, which is absolutely insane. Him and Aaron Rodgers might be one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the history of the league, at least recently. But I'll go to the high-low sports guys next. DJ, I'll start with you. Are you guys going to break up this? Are we going to go clean sweep with Green Bay, or are we going to break it up here and somebody going to pick the Titans?
I'll start with saying I told you guys the last 2 weeks the Titans have weaponized COVID. Every time they play a team, a couple weeks later, somebody comes down with it. First the Ravens, then the Colts, and now we see it with the Browns. The Titans have found a way to weaponize COVID. It is a fact now. That being said, it's in Green Bay, a running team. It does favor the Titans in that regard, but I think the Packers are still going to take it at home. Aaron Rodgers could play in any weather. He's shown that. And I think this is the game where Kenny Clark finally starts to play like a big guy who's making money and somewhat stops Derrick Henry from going off for 350 yards like everyone else has done on the Packers. And if it starts to get a little iffy, snowy, rainy, I could think we see Aaron Jones start to take over the game too, because he's capable of going off at any given second. And I think that'll be kind of an X factor, because no one on the Titans is going to be able to keep up with Aaron Jones in space in their front seven. If they put 3 people on Devontae Adams, which they probably should, as you mentioned, he doesn't drop anything catchable, and nobody's guarding him one-on-one. So I'll take the Packers. Talk about 2 terrible defenses from playoff teams, though. If the weather's not terrible, it could easily be 43-35.
Yeah, I think both teams struggle on defense, and the Packers especially on run defense. They have not been good. Zadarius Smith is a great pass rushing linebacker, but he's no run stopping middle linebacker, and that's been evident pretty obviously. Kelcey, you're the last one here. Are you going to go island? You're going to try and pick up a game on everybody else, or is it just too much for the Packers? Because I think that DJ kind of spelled it out. The X factor for the Packers is Aaron Jones. He's kind of the toughness factor of that team. So what are you feeling on this game?
Yeah, let me go ahead and start with, you guys all kind of alluded to the weather. It's projected to be 30 degrees and snowy all game long. It's supposed to start at noon tomorrow. So, obviously we've all, Jimmy, I know you probably played in football or played in snow. I played in snow. Snow dictates running game, right? That's going to be your deciding factor for everybody except one man has proven he can throw in the snow, and that's Aaron Rodgers. The dude just, I don't know how he does it. He's able to play in any weather, and he throws probably better in bad weather than he does in good weather, which is a mystery to anybody who can watch football and tell me that's how that works. I haven't figured it out yet. And these guys from the South, they don't know how to throw in the weather. Ryan Tannehill, dude from Texas A&M, Miami, now Tennessee. Like, he has no experience really throwing in winter weather in a must-win environment. His only experience was in the playoffs a couple years ago, and he was on the bench on that game. So give me, Aaron Jones is probably the fifth best running back in the game right now for what he can do out of the backfield, receiving and rushing. And he's going to be easily the decision maker in this game. And be sure to watch him get 100+ all-purpose, probably 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for 2 to Devontae just because that's what he does. And there's a sneaky little tight end by Tunyon who having himself a career year for a tight end, and he's about to, I think if I'm not mistaken, he's about to break a tight end record for touchdown completion or touchdown catches in a year. And so don't be surprised if he does that today.
It is the Sunday night football game too, so at 6:20 it'll be even colder. So it's not like it's a middle of the day of the game where it's gonna, or a middle of the day kind of game where the sun can help a little bit, but it's going to be straight cold.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a big matchup, Sunday night football matchup. Everybody's going Packers, but I wouldn't be surprised of an upset here with the Titans. But you guys all make good points for why the Packers are probably going to win this one. Moving on to the next game, AFC East matchup, the Bills going into New England. Foxborough, and playing the Patriots with, like we said, Cam Newton at quarterback. I don't think that he's the answer. Zach here went for this game, picked the Bills. And I don't disagree with him at all. I think the Bills are just a better team talent-wise. But I'll go around the table, see if we have any surprise picks. I'll start with you, Niko. Patriots or Bills?
The Patriots basically need to lose this game because they need draft cap. They need to have better draft spots so they could trade up to the number 2 pick and possibly get Justin Fields. So for that reason, I'm giving the Bills. Josh Allen is a much better quarterback right now than anything that the Patriots have in their quarterback room. It doesn't matter who they throw out there. So for that reason, I'm going the Bills big here. Absolutely massive.
Jim, it's your team. It's the New England Patriots. They're not making the playoffs for the first time in how many years? I know you know. I can't remember the number right off the top of my head.
Since 2008.
So the first time in a long time that they're not making the playoffs. What are you feeling about this game? Do you think that they finally embrace the draft capital? Maybe it's good to lose a game here and there, or do you think that they just have too much pride and they're going to go out and possibly steal one from the Bills?
No, they're not going to steal one for the Bills. The Bills are going to win.
Very simple.
Wow.
Sweet.
Really elaborate, Jim.
Yeah. Sorry, New England.
He's given that much up already on his team.
I feel you because I hated talking about the Bengals before they won too. It's just a painful experience. Fine, I'll move on. Kelcey, Bills, Patriots. What do you feel about this one?
Yeah, no, to Jim's point, I mean, it's going to be the Bills, but to give a little more behind that, I can't even think about why. This is just an awful matchup. The Bills are just going to walk away with this one. I mean, I was trying to give some fancy ass reason. There's not. The Bills are just the better team on paper all across the board. Belichick doesn't want to win. He's the best coach at doing what he wants to do, so he can easily blow a game if he wants to.
Wasn't that hard, Kelcey?
It's so difficult. I hate trying to talk nice about the Patriots. I just stumble over my words.
I mean, you could say that they had a lot of people on their defense opt out that could have helped. Dante Hightower.
They're a terrible team. They're trash.
I agree with you. They had nothing going for them. Cam was going to be their only bright spot, and he hasn't panned out. DJ, Bills, Patriots. You're going to be the contrarian. You're going to go to the upset, or you're going to try and you're going to stick with everybody else and go with Buffalo.
Cam Newton, Fig Newton, Newton's Law, it doesn't matter. Give me the Bills by 50. I picked the Patriots on Island last week, and I hate myself for it. So give me the Bills by a comfortable margin.
All right, that's a clean sweep for Buffalo. Bills Mafia. I think the New York governor is contemplating letting some fans go to the playoffs if Buffalo hosts a playoff game, possibly. So that would be great to see Bills Mafia in a home playoff environment with Josh Allen the way he's been playing. So I agree with you guys. Bills over the Patriots. Next game, Broncos and the Chargers. Niko, I'm starting with you because it's your team. Going to Los Angeles, what do you think is going to happen in this one?
Let me remind everyone of Island picked the Broncos to beat the Chargers the first time we played them, and we all saw what happened. Justin Herbert couldn't finish a game down when he was up by 24 points. I'm going to go same exact thing. Right now, the Chargers have the talent but they have absolutely horrendous coaching. Anthony Lynn does not know how to win football games against teams he should technically beat. Chris Harris, yeah, I'm glad to see you back, but your ass is going to get cooked. Jerry Jeudy is going to run all of your ass. Phil Lindsay out for the year. Knock on wood. Hopefully he gets back healthier. But Melvin Gordon has looked a lot better because we finally got him out of the stigma that he's not in powder blue anymore and he's not a part of a shit organization like the Chargers. So the Broncos are going to win big here, in my opinion. Drew Lock he had a terrible week last week, but I think he gets back on track. The Chargers team, they're not going to go anywhere with Anthony Lynn. It's the exact same thing with the Jets. They're not going to go anywhere with Anthony Lynn. Yeah, Justin Herbert is a good prospect, and they have a bright future. I still don't think they do, but they have a bright future. But as long as Anthony Lynn is at the head of that, Broncos are going to win this game. And for the back-to-back years, the Broncos are going to sweep the Chargers again this year and beat them two times this year and last year.
I mean, I'll say it for the group. The Broncos, for whatever reason, just know how to win games against the Chargers no matter what. There's always
it's a little brother thing. It's a little brother thing, like I said, with the Browns, Ravens, and the Browns Steelers thing. The Chargers are still little brothers because they don't know how to fill their own stadium up with their own fans when there is fans allowed in the stadium. It's always a sea of orange whenever the Chargers host a game against the Broncos. And yeah, there's no fans there, but that mindset is still there.
All right, DJ, I'll go to you next. Chargers, Broncos, what's your pick?
Are you sure you were the Island pick on that one? Because I'm pretty sure I've made it a point to pick against the Chargers every single time, except when they play the choke artist Falcons. Because I think I joined you on that Broncos bandwagon.
Okay, you might have. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember I was one of the only people that picked that.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the same page because I make sure to emphasize my point of not picking the Chargers. Like it's embroidered on my family crest, so I just want to make sure that's clear.
Hey, I'm right alongside with you. Every time I pick against the Chargers, doesn't matter who they're playing against.
And Anthony Lynn should not rhyme with win. Give me the Broncos. I think Drew Lock shows that he's still a quality quarterback, even though Nico's trying to get rid of him for Dak Prescott, which I'll take Drew Lock gladly in Indianapolis if you're getting rid of him. So give me the Broncos. The defense frustrates Herbert a little bit. A few touchdowns from Lock. Comfortable game.
Jim, what do you feel about this one? I'll go to you next.
I put on from my city, on from my city. Broncos. That's it, bro. I don't like the Chargers at all. Sorry.
No one does. No one likes the Chargers. Don't worry.
They're from LA. I despise every team in LA.
It's still one of the dumbest reasons to think that a quarterback is going to be good because he can mouth young Jeezy on the sideline. That made no sense.
Hey. Let the guy have his spotlight, man.
I'm more concerned about a quarterback who can't mouth young Jeezy on the sideline. Those are the ones I'm concerned about.
Oh, I don't know. DJ, your quarterback doesn't even curse. Kelcey, what do you think about this game?
He is not my quarterback. Okay.
No, but DJ's quarterback does know how to procreate. Let's say that.
We're living on the way.
Look, I don't know, man. This is tough. I gotta pick the different just because I need the game, and I think this is the most winnable game for an Island pick. I do see Austin Eckler. These Chargers teams. They do have a chance. The run game is not the Broncos' best. Best thing on defense. They don't know really how to stop it that well. It's kind of what it is. And with Chris Harris coming back, he feels a little bit of pride on taking away the Broncos' soul in this one, if you will. So don't be surprised if he gets a pick in this one. So give me the Chargers.
I would technically argue that the Broncos' run defense is better than the pass defense. Yes, Justin Simmons is back there, but we are badly banged up on the corners. And
when you're 16 and 17 in both categories, it's apples and oranges at this point.
Yeah, it's not like one matches the other. But we were one of the few teams that held Derrick Henry under 100 yards rushing. So I'll take that credit.
No, I mean, Josie Jewell is one of the most underrated linebackers, especially.
And Alexander Johnson, too.
He's been great, too. But Josie Jewell had a lot of shit coming out about him when he didn't run a fast 40 as a linebacker, but he's quick football-wise. He gets to the hole and fills the hole quick.
He runs the same speed in pads as he does out of pads. That's impressive. That's an impressive feat.
Yeah, that's something that not a lot of people can say. We'll stop here for the Zoom, and we'll finish out with the rest of the pick'em. You're listening to NFL Unhinged on the Unhinged Sports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to NFL Unhinged. We're wrapping up this week's pick'em for Week 16. It's sad. I mean, I say it, we have less football remaining than we have already played. So it's a sad time for me. I know Nico's excited because basketball's starting up, and I know we got a couple other basketball fans here on this show, but I'm going to miss football when it's over. Next game, we have the Falcons and Chiefs. Zach picked the Chiefs in this one. I don't disagree with him because I really don't see a way that the Falcons can win this game. If somebody else has an idea, you can go ahead and shout it out when I give it to you. But I'll go ahead. I'll start with Kelcey on this one. The Falcons or the Chiefs?
If this was the Sunday night game, I might consider saying the Chiefs had everybody because they clinched the number 1 seed mathematically. But unfortunately, they don't have that option yet because the Bills are playing on Monday. So yeah, the Chiefs end up winning this one pretty handily.
Nico, the Chiefs have been interesting the last few weeks because they haven't looked great the entire time, but they're just really talented and able to overcome stuff like that. Tyreek Hill can take over a game. Travis Kelce is leading the league in receiving yards as a tight end, which I don't know if it's ever happened before, but it's definitely one of the greatest receiving seasons for a tight end ever. What do you think about this one with the Falcons hosting the Chiefs in this matchup?
Yeah, you're right, Jimmy. The Chiefs had 2 hiccups and they only won by 3 points and 6 points to 2 playoff teams. That's not that big of a deal. They're still wins against the quality opponents. Chiefs went big here. The Falcons are not. They need to move on from Matt Ryan. There's another quarterback we can throw into the carousel of quarterbacks that need to go elsewhere. Matt Ryan needs to go somewhere else. He needs a new fresh start somewhere because that 28-3, it doesn't matter. That will always be engraved to his tombstone when he look back on his Falcons career. For that reason, no chance the Falcons get anything going, especially in Arrowhead. I am going Falcons. Or Falcons going to get ass kicked by 20 today or on Sunday against the Chiefs.
That is my mistake. The Chiefs are hosting this game. Jim, I know you appreciated the 28-3 comment. Falcons and Chiefs, can you pick the upset in this one, or are you going with the Chiefs?
Oh, I'm not going to pick no upset in this one. It's stupid. Chiefs. Matt Ryan's just you gotta feel for the guy. 24-7, 28-3, 35-10. There's so many games that he was up so big, but yet choked so badly. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs again, please. Yeah.
It's heartbreaking because I think that Matt Ryan, I mean, he was an MVP. I think that he could have been – that's going to be his legacy, and he's a lot better of a quarterback than just that. But that holds heavy on a record. DJ, you're rounding out this game. What are you feeling in this matchup in Kansas City, Falcons and Chiefs?
In fitting fashion, somehow the Falcons will have a lead at some point, but the Chiefs will still win by double digits. So I'll take the Chiefs comfortably.
By the way, I did call last week the Falcons are going to have a lead, and they did blow it against the Bucs. Just want to remind everyone of that.
Yeah,
DJ's been calling that all season too.
We breathe oxygen and water is blue.
Me and DJ say the same shit basically, but in a different tone.
Yeah, there's not too much debate about anything that's been said in that game. The Falcons offense should be able to keep them closer into games, but the talent just hasn't come together, and they need something drastically to change. Now we're going to kind of switch and go quickly on these next few because they don't really have too much to go on for the rest of the outlook on the playoffs. Bengals, Texans. Zach's going with the Texans. I think that, maybe the Bengals are invigorated by their win last week, but DJ, I'll start with you. Bengals, Texans. Who do you think is going to win?
I think that win was kind of the Bengals' quote-unquote Super Bowl of the regular season with Burrow going down. That was the pinnacle of the season for him. Give me Deshaun and the Texans to bounce back.
Kelcey, you going to agree with your co-host on the High Low Sports podcast, or are you going with the Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to pick the Bengals, but I got to go Texans on this one.
Niko, remember we've been friends for a very long time before you answer this. Bengals or Texans?
Jimmy, your season was highlighted last week. Now the rest of the season does not care. You will agree with me when you say the best interest for the Bengals is to lose the rest of your games and secure the number 3 seed and get that left tackle out of Oregon. So for that reason, I'm going to Texans. You guys faced Big Ben last week. That was your Super Bowl, like everyone said. The Bengals, now they can lose the rest of their games in the season, and it doesn't matter because you beat the Steelers. So it doesn't matter. For that reason, I'm going to Texans here here, and it sounds like the Bengals want to start Brandon Allen, which is going to be a mistake. I've heard back and forth between Brandon Allen might start and Finley might start. Who knows? But either way, Deshaun Watson is not Big Ben. He's much better right now. He just needs help. But for that reason, I'm going Texans.
Deshaun Watson owns the Bengals his entire career. That's all he's been able to do is beat the Bengals. Jim, you're the last one to pick for this game, Bengals or Texans?
Give me the Texans to just help out your Bengals.
All right, I'll take it. It was a nice way to tell me that the Bengals suck. That's fine. Next game, Bears and Jaguars. I'll go right back to you, Jim, since you live down in Florida. Are you going with Duval? I know the answer already because you've said that they're going to finish 1-15. Who do you got in this one?
Check the logo. Check the logo. You see my logo there, people? Who do you think I want to win this damn game? Give me the Bears.
Zach is going to agree with you. He's picking his Bears as well in this matchup. I don't know why, because it's just going to stick him with Trubisky for even longer. Nico, what do you think about this game? Bears, Jaguars.
Oh, man, I really wanted to pick the Jaguars just so the Jets can get Trevor Lawrence and then lastly not even matter. Oh, man, I really wanted to do that. You know what? I'll do it because I need to make up games. Like I said, I'm going to pick the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars fuck up. Mike Glennon is playing his former team, the team that that is still paying him, I'm pretty sure. So for that matter, I'm going with the Jaguars, and the Jets get back the number 1 seed. How about that? Dom, you can rejoice. I'm picking the Jaguars to beat the Bears.
You do know that James Robinson's out for the season, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know. Mike Glennon is going to be on a revenge game. This is how I make up games, Jim. I gotta try something. So I'm going.
Have you seen Mike Glennon play?
I have, and it's not pretty. But have you seen Mitchell Trubisky play? Not pretty either.
It's better than Mike Glennon.
Who knows? This is a bad. It's probably going to be a pretty bad matchup on Sunday. Shout out Dom. That's my brother, who is he's the reason why Nico's in the green and white Jets jersey this week.
Nick Mangold jersey.
Kelcey, I'll go to you with this one. Bears, Jaguars. Who do you got?
Yeah, give me the Bears. Like if it wasn't for James Robinson being benched, I might consider going with the Jaguars just because of Mitch Trubisky. But yeah, David Montgomery is the saving grace for the Bears, and that's why the Bears will win.
DJ, what do you got for me on this one? Bears, Jags.
Not a single human on that Jaguars team is going to be able to block Khalil Mack. All 5 of them combined are stopping him. Bears will win comfortably, and they'll get stuck with Mitch for at least another year or two. Typical Bears fashion. They screw themselves by winning.
There you go. Everybody's going. Or Nico's got another.
Either team who wins this game screws themselves, so it really doesn't matter.
I mean, the
if
Bears.
it's a tie, maybe the best thing is for a tie, honestly, between these two teams.
Yeah. It's going to get canceled. Someone's going to get COVID in the next 2 hours.
Position groups.
Wouldn't be terrible. Nico's on an island outside Jacksonville for the Jags in that one. Now
this is how I don't finish in last.
A Super Bowl rematch from the 2000s, from actually the year 2000 when the Ravens had Ray Lewis and Tony Saragusa. Giants, Ravens. Zach is picking Baltimore in this one. DJ, who do you got? Giants, Ravens with Paul. Do you pick Lamar pulling another Paul Pierce in this one?
I think he'll drop his deuce before the game and be just fine. And I'll stick with my Daniel Jones is playing. I can't pick with the Giants factor that is stuck the last 4 weeks. They say Daniel Jones will play. Give me the Ravens huge, and hopefully Mark Andrews saves my fantasy team.
Nico, what do you see happening in this matchup?
Ravens big here. The Giants are they somehow still have a chance to win this division, but they're not going to pull it off. Lamar Jackson will be too much, and that Ravens defense is much better than they were at the beginning of the season. So I'm going Baltimore as well.
Kelcey, who do you got in this one? Do you think that the Giants? I mean, I think it's probably difficult for you to pick the Giants, but are you going to go with them over the Ravens?
I mean, like, besides the fact that, NFC East hatred and everything for the Giants, no, I can't even, from just a neutral standpoint, even think about the Giants. The Ravens are finally figuring it out. Give me the Ravens.
Jim, you're the last one on this game. Ravens and Giants. Who do you got?
Ravens, big.
That's a clean sweep for Baltimore in that matchup. Next game, Panthers and the Washington football team. DJ, I'm going to go to you first. I believe the Panthers are the favorite in this game, but what do you see happening in this one? No Christian McCaffrey again, but Panthers and football team. Who do you got?
Does anyone know if Alex Smith is cleared to play, or is it Stripper Haskins again? Does anyone know for sure?
I think that he's probable. I don't think that they've ruled him out completely yet.
Gotcha. In that case, I'm going to go and pick Washington. Defensive line gets after it. Teddy's been flustered the last few weeks. And then Terry McLaurin will get loose on that defense. Although if Dwayne Haskins rolls out of the strip club into the starting lineup, I'd be a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I don't feel for Dwayne Haskins at all. He got his captainship pulled, and it was well-deserved with what he was doing last week. Zach is going with the Panthers in this matchup. I love what Matt Rule's done in Carolina. Kelcey, what do you feel about this game? Who do you have winning?
Look, I keep picking Carolina in games to give me a win, and they've let me down time after time after time. But just looking at this injury report for Washington, Alex Smith questionable, Kevin Pierre-Louis questionable, Antonio Gibson questionable, Terry McLaurin doubtful, Thomas Davis Sr. out. I'm going to get bitten again by the Panther bug again, but I'm going to go with the Panthers, just hoping that Matt Rule can give me another win. They can go 5-10 right now.
Jim, you're next on this one. Panthers in Washington. You going with Carlos's team, or you going to pick Carolina with Matt Rule and Teddy B?
Damn. Washington keeps the dream alive. Give me the I almost said Skins. Give me the football team. That's if Smith is starting. Now, if it's Stripper Haskins, Carolina, but I don't know. Maybe the COVID's good enough in these strip bars to get Alex Smith to start the games. But yeah, no matter what, give me the football team.
Washington needs Shane Falco, and we should call them the Sentinels if they make the playoffs, because that would be crazy. Niko, Panthers in the football team. Who do you got?
Washington football team. I'm gonna pick them here. It's Alex Smith. Yeah, he's questionable, but he was a full participant on Friday for practice. So for that reason, looks like he's going to be the starting quarterback. And people are forgetting this is a revenge game for Ron Rivera. That Washington football team. Yeah, they hate their owner, but they play for their coach. And he is going to get his team up and ready for this game, in my opinion. And they have something to play for. Ron Rivera is playing, like I said, he's playing his former team. They have a chance to make the playoffs and squeeze in. For that reason, I'm going Washington football team.
I don't hate it. I think that game could kind of go either way. If McCaffrey was playing, I'd lean more towards the Panthers, but who knows at this point. Last couple games on the schedule for this week, Browns and Jets. Browns are going to be without three key receivers, Peoples-Jones, Jarvis Landry, and I believe Rashard Higgins is also going to be out for them. Kelcey, I'm going to you first. Browns and Jets. Do you think the Jets can pull off another win and move themselves even further from that number one spot?
No chance in hell. Harrison Bryant, David Njoku, Austin Hooper, all are receiving tight ends. You can split them out wide if you need to. They all run 4.5, 4.6, 40. So, a slower receiver, faster tight end speed. They'll be just fine. Plus, they got this guy, this bowling ball named Nick Chubb, who just happens to kill everybody. So good luck trying to stop that. Give me the Browns.
Niko, I'll go to you next. Browns and Jets. Who do you got?
I mean, Kelcey, you gotta be aware, be weary when saying no chance in hell, because I said that the last week against the Rams and the Jets pull off the upset. But
room to be wary.
Yeah, besides that, it doesn't matter if the Browns don't have a receiver. There isn't a single person on the Jets defense that will be able to stop Nick Chubb. They can hand the ball off 80 times a game and just alternate between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. It doesn't matter. Baker won't have. He can still throw to his tight end. It's not like a Broncos situation where they're throwing at nobody at quarterback. They still have Baker at quarterback. Now he just has less weapons, but he still has one of the best running backs in the game behind him, and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who's probably the best number 2 running back in the NFL too right now. So for that matter, I'm going the Browns. The Jets, like I said, keep losing, and maybe the Jags will pull off an upset, and you guys can keep the number 1 pick and get back to the number 1 pick.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt's really kicking himself for how everything worked out, but he's kind of made up for it now being in Cleveland. DJ, next, I'm going to you next. Browns, Jets. Who do you got?
As someone who has to deal with Nick Chubb in fantasy this week, I pray to God Kareem Hunt gets like 50 carries and 17 catches and just takes all of the load and gets everything. But regardless, Browns will win. If nothing else, Myles Garrett will score for them. They'll be fine.
Jim, what do you got for me in this game? Browns and Jets.
As much as I want the Jets to win to basically clinch the Jacksonville Jaguars as the number 1 overall pick, Nick Chubb, Baker Mayfield, they have something to go for. They have a division title to win here in a couple of weeks, so give me the Browns.
Zach is also going with the Browns in that matchup, so that's a clean sweep for Cleveland. And now the final game of this week's pick'em, Eagles and Cowboys. Zach is going with Philly. I'll go to you, Kelcey. Are you picking your boys, or you think the Eagles get it done with Jalen Hurts?
I mean, I've picked against the Cowboys I don't know how many times and been wrong. Niko has proven it 3 times already. So I'm going to continue the trend. And no, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I'm going to pick the Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys in this one. Just, I don't know, man. I don't trust the Eagles at all.
I think Jalen Hurts gives them the best chance to win, but I'm not sure if the rest of that roster, without Lane Johnson being able to play and solidify that right tackle spot, and with as many different combinations on the offensive line, that's been their big problem.
And
Jim,
whether or not
Eagles,
Darius
Cowboys.
Slay even plays.
Yeah, that's who knows what's going to happen with them. Jim, you're next on this one. Eagles Cowboys. Who do you got?
I want to see suffering and pain to grace Kelcey this week when the Eagles stomp the hell out of the Cowboys with starting quarterback Jalen Hurts, who's also a University of Alabama grad and an Oklahoma Sooner. Who cares? He's an Oklahoma grad, but he still whipped that candy ass in Alabama. Give me the Eagles.
I'd actually feel worse if the Cowboys win than I would if the Eagles win, just for a fun fact for you, Jim.
By the way, Jalen Hurts graduated from Alabama and then got a graduate degree from Oklahoma.
Shh, he doesn't have to know that.
All right, Niko, I'll go to you next. Eagles Cowboys. Who do you got?
And for some reason, like Kelcey said, I know how to pick my Cowboys games right, and I'm gonna go here with the Eagles because I like Jalen Hurts and Andy Dalton. You've shown that you're a formidable backup in this league. The Cowboys need Dak Prescott back. They should not go out. If they bring Dak back, they have a chance to win this division, in my opinion. They just need to secure up their defense because they have the talent. Zeke has been out, but Pollard has been a fantastic running back for them. CD Lamb on the outside, Gallup, Mari Cooper. You can go on and on. They have talent out there. They just don't know how to use it. Maybe that's McCarthy's fault. Maybe that's the fact that Dak's been hurt. But I'm going to go Eagles here because Jalen Hurts is I love seeing what he's been able to do. He took losing the position to Tua with grace, and for that he deserves so much because he's a class act. And for that reason, he's a starting quarterback in this league. So I'm going to go Eagles.
DJ, you're the last pick of the show this week. Eagles, Cowboys, who do you got?
Well, I hate both teams, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys as my chance to make up some ground and maybe potentially sneak into that first place since everyone else picked the same thing. And at the same time, the Cowboys, Niko listed all of their weapons, and the Eagles' defense is the same defense that let Chase Claypool score 4 touchdowns casually to break out. So why not let CD get 2, Amari Cooper get a few? Why not? And Jalen Hurts, I think, puts up a bunch of stats like he has been, but I think it's still limited and doesn't quite win the game. He's been able to stuff the stat sheet, but he hasn't won too much, minus the Saints fluke.
There you have it for week 16 of the NFL UnHinged Pick'em. We'll keep you updated on how that goes this weekend. Right now, we're going to let everybody plug their shows and where they can find you. But for this show, you can listen every Sunday at 8 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Mountain Time in Colorado, where Niko and I are, on the Unhinged Sports Network, and the YouTube video comes out on the Far End of the Bench channel an hour and 15 minutes after. I'll go to Niko first. Where can people find us for the Far End of the Bench?
Of course, we're 1 o'clock Eastern on the Unhinged Network, which is 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. New episodes come out this week. Upcoming week, we have a little bit of a different show coming for you guys. We have a little bit insight into how we created the podcast and everything because we recorded this a few weeks back. So be sure to tune into that. That's going to be a lot of fun one. But our episodes come out on Thursdays as well on YouTube. We will continue with more YouTube videos, but the new year has a lot of great things in store. Jimmy and I are both a part of many shows on this network. We recorded last week we had the first NBA show that I'm a part of with the guys from Sports and Things and the Reserves, which was a lot of fun. My dumbassery and I picked the Nuggets to beat the Clippers, and that was we have our own little pick 'em over there, so that's a little fun to do here and now. So be sure to be on the lookout for that in the new year. And then Jimmy will be a part of the 2 for Chirping with some of the guys on this show as well. So that you guys got to look out for that, man. So we have a lot of good things going. We're the podcast of the year for the reason. Got to hit 2020, end it the right way, and then boom into 21 and absolutely kill it next year. So I'm excited for you guys to join us on the bench. Like I said, I was on the slopes wearing my Far End of the Bench gear today, and I had some people look at my sweatshirt like, what the hell is that? And gave us a listen. So that's just the best way that we're going to continue to grow and continue to put out great content for you guys. So catch us at FEOTB Bahar on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that good stuff, and YouTube as well.
Yeah. Kelcey, High Low Sports, where can they find you guys?
So the second best podcast on the network, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, whether we had the stats or not. We joined a month after everybody else, so it's not our fault. But you can find us on Twitter. We are High Low Sports. That simple. And every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, we release a new episode. And then every Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, our episode goes to our streaming platforms like Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that. You can check that out by clicking our link tree in our bio and our Twitter page. But we got some fantastic things coming too. We're building our YouTube page. We're working on that. Don't be surprised if we might drop some interviews. We've been doing some pick'ems over there, dropping a couple extra lists. We just dropped our MVP list over the last decade in the NBA. Who the best MVP is. Got some heat for my picks, but you know what? I stand by him wholeheartedly. And if I do have to face a punishment on this show, you may just happen to see it on our YouTube page. So don't be surprised if that pops up over there as well.
Yeah, DJ Kelcey. DJ, I always we have a pretty similar mind on this show. So I'm glad that you're here and you represent the Colts. Not many people represent the Colts. So
there's good reason for that. Their owners are drunk and their quarterback doesn't know how to wear a condom. So I understand it. Somebody has to do it though. I do it for the people.
The Ursays are a different kind of person. All right, Jim, let everybody know how they can follow the network and then your show, the JDash show as well.
Follow the network at Network Unhinged. Also, both websites, unhingedsn.com and unhingedsn.airtime.pro for 24/7 nonstop podcasting coverage. You can follow the JDash show at JDash show. We are on 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 9 a.m. It's home to 2 championships from the award shows, the Brand of the Year podcast and the best sound quality, unlike the High-Low Sports guys there, Kelcey, saying that you're the second best podcast.
Look, just because you're the GM of the network, so you got to get some awards.
Excuses.
That you literally write awards to give yourself an award.
Oh, I literally wrote an award for you guys, and Sports and Things won it.
It's not our fault. Sports
Jimmy,
Things is a great podcast.
I'll clean our belt up for us. Don't you worry, buddy. I got a nice little spit shine for it to look nice and shiny. Don't worry.
But also find us on Instagram at UnhingedSN and Unhinged Sports Networks on YouTube.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things coming up for the Unhinged Sports Network in 2021. Thank you guys for listening to this week of NFL Unhinged. Check out 3 in the Key, the NBA show for the network, 2 for Chirping when it starts coming up here in January, High Low Sports Podcast, the JDash show, and the Far End of the Bench podcast. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, Niko Bryant, my co-host, Jim Munier of the JDash show, Kelcey and DJ of the High Low Sports Podcast. We'll see you guys next week.